Meet Jair Laro, a man who once held the highest dream and became a legendary hero. He dreamed of destroying demons with a holy sword, then marrying a beautiful princess and living in luxury. It was a long time ago, but life has a strange habit granting childhood fantasies even when they were never promised. And suddenly, out of nowhere, an energetic girl appears at the doorstep and throws him a wildly bold proposal. "This is Sutton, but I want you to join my party." Jerry looks at her no impression from her radiant enthusiasm. He tries to escape the problem in the simplest way, turn around and walk away. "Sorry, but I'm managing," he says and slams the door right in her face. The girl refuses to accept rejection. She starts climbing on his door and hits it with a hammer, collecting a debt like a debt collector. Jerry finally reveals himself only to threaten her. "If you don't shut up, I'll report you to Knights. You understand what that means." She calls herself Retinua Innocent, but friends just call her Ready. She offers to pay for the door she almost broke if he agrees to join her attack on the hero's party. Ready is not just an ordinary girl. She is a legendary heroine chosen by the sacred sword Grand Virgo. Jirya sighs. Probably she is looking for someone else. He pulls out his ID to crush his self-esteem. He is a pathetic adventurer from the lower D rank. Ready just stands still and looks at him as if she already knows who he is. She insists this is exactly the person, she just hasn't remembered him yet. She twists her face, makes funny grimaces, pulls her hair up to trigger those memories in him. She works and memories from 5 years ago flood back like a wave. Jirya saved her from a massive bear attack when she was still a child. Since then, she has looked at him as if he is her main source of inspiration. Jirya still remembers the terribly edgy advice he gave her back then. Namely, to be a hero, don't cry. "Stop my dark past." She tells him that she recognized him by his dull eyes instantly as soon as she saw him in the city. Jerry asks the obvious question. If she is already a heroine, then why does she need a guy like him with D rank? "Being at a party with you is what I have always wanted," she admits, smiling so brightly that it blinds. Desiree is left speechless. She leans in very close and demands a final answer. They stand in the quiet forests behind his little house. "I will not join," he replies firmly. They silently endure a long, tense pause. Suddenly, Reggie flares up and declares that he did not hear a single word of what he said. They start a quarrel, shouting at each other in response until Jurai finally breaks down. "All right, I will join your party," he mutters through his teeth just so she finally moves. He tries to set a limit, says that all this will last only for a short time. Now Reddy agrees, but a little time stretches until the moment when the demon lord falls dead and the world is saved. Deer is stunned by the scale of the work he has just signed up for. He emphasizes, people call him the black-haired hero only because of his hair color. He orders her to leave a statement at the guild and promises to see her another day. She waves goodbye happy to the point of madness. As soon as she disappears, Jurai concludes, it's time to flee the city. There is no chance that he will fight the demon lord. He recalls how much effort he put in to become a hero in the past. He drank disgusting potions and trained until he almost died to obtain the holy mark. He truly desired that scene, but his motivation was not entirely noble. He simply wanted to be king and live carefree like his idol. While he was eating in the tavern, harsh reality reached him. Heroes and kings work every day without a single minute of rest. He realized it is precisely the one who drinks and senselessly amuses himself who really wins in life. It was then that he made a decision. Enough fuss, it's time to settle into a calm, measured life. He arrives in Universia Kingdom and hopes that finally he will let go of his place in the crowd. The city looks unnaturally crowded, and he involuntarily wonders if people have gathered here for some special event. In this jostling, he locked eyes for just a moment, and at the last second collided with a girl hiding under a white hood. They both apologize almost simultaneously, but the girl nervously tightens up and trembles as if more frightened than him. Dejir notices her white hair is as rare as his black hair. When she abruptly rushes away and disappears running, he notices on the cobblestones she has lost something. It is a beautiful pendant. He thinks he will just take it to the night department after he finishes his shopping. He hears the townspeople quietly calling to each other. They say Princess Raffine has already been spotted somewhere nearby. This is the only day in the month when the princess can walk among the commoners. But Jir does not care at all. He is indifferent to everything. He flops onto the bed and spreads out in the silence, savoring the peace. A month has passed, and reality hits him hard. He has not a single coin left. When Raina had only 500 left, he could no longer even pay for a room for the night. He quickly scans the guild board looking for a way to fix everything at once. After that, he comes across a request for escort. He does not even pay attention to the adventurer's rank. The reward there is an astonishing 250,000 Riyan. A 5-day journey to the neighboring kingdom sounds almost like a perfect paid vacation. He immediately submits an application, ready to accept payment. He reaches the meeting place in the forest. He notices a group waiting by the carriage, and his blood runs cold immediately. This is the attack hero's party, and they were waiting specifically for him. Things unfold and shine with pure triumph. She already has a contract ready, and she orders him to sign on the dotted line. It seems Jir's dreams of a quiet, lazy life have officially come to an end, and everything ended with a loud crash. Reddy explains, they already have business in Al, so taking this request was a simple, unconditional decision. She asks Jir to join her party, but he doesn't even lift a finger. He is not interested in her talks about fate. Then she starts to warm him up in front of the teammates, insisting that he is incredibly strong. Lena, a red-haired elf, skeptically raises her gaze. His lazy aura and foggy eyes clearly promise nothing good. Suddenly, Reddy gets to the point. She hasn't even asked what this man's name is yet. He introduces himself as Jerry Larrow, a demoted adventurer and master of dreams. Lena reveals that she is a Ranka mage, and the quiet girl in the hood is Eve Dalkys. Lena clarifies, now she is a member of the Reddy party. Jura recognizes the name Antitman, and he starts to sweat. He decides to remain silent. He remembers how in the past he beat the red-haired elf assassin from that family, and now tries to avoid new problems. Reddy, despite her unpopularity, insists. A majority of votes is needed to force him to join the party. Both Lena and Eva say the same thing. They don't care either way. Reddy took this as a victory and mentally counted 3-1. She also tries to wriggle out, claiming that the emotionless Eva secretly wants him to join. Eve breaks the moment, simply turns around and walks away, repeating again that she really doesn't care. Lena tells Jir not to pay attention to her. Eva is always like that. Suddenly, some man elbows you to push through to the group. This is Kane, Stahl's a second-rate adventurer who clearly overestimates himself. He tries to charm Reddy, insisting that their meeting is a matter of fate. Reddy's face speaks for her. She has no idea who this man is. Kane shifts his gaze to Jurya, and on his face is pure disgust. He demands an explanation for why this D-rank trash is still standing before his eyes. Jurya remains calm and simply replies that he is here because he accepted the request. Kane begins a lecture, immediately emphasizing his status as the third son of the Stoles family. He accuses Jur of being a worthless opportunist, only thinking about how to suck up to the nobility. Kane's elitism breaks out as soon as he voices his hatred for low-rank adventurers. He throws a bag of coins on the ground and orders Jur to take the change and leave. Reddy is about to explode, but Jurya restrains her. Kane continues to snort disdainfully and calls everyone below his rank nothing but trash. Jurya clenches his fist and admits, yes, he really wants the money. Reddy looks at him in shock. She can't believe that it really means the same as what he says. Jurya begins to speak, and his voice sharply becomes harsh. He defends the low-rankers, referring to those who master medicine or supports orphan shelters even on his meager salary. He aims his gaze intently and does not look away. They are not trash, he said firmly. Kane did not move. Again and again he threw his offense and ordered Jerry to get away quickly. Jerry caught the coin and immediately tossed it back toward the noble. He told Kane that he needed money much more than anyone else among the commoners. Jerry grabbed him by the throat and reminded the noble. Since he is the third son, he has no rights to the inheritance. Kane's face contorts with absolute rage. Jerry finishes him off with words, saying that Kane only reached B rank thanks to his family's influence. Grasping anger, Kane draws his sword and rushes forward to strike. Jerry does not flinch even when the blade flies straight at him. But the steel suddenly stops sharply in the air halfway. The asserting voice was cut off by an order. Everyone calm down. A mysterious, beautiful girl appears and gives Kane an order to lower the sword and be silent. Jurya remains in place, staring at her, unable to understand who this girl with such a powerful presence is. Do not utter a word and put down the sword. The knight's body convulses against his will until the blade clangs against the ground. Jurya immediately recognizes the word, magic, and sees that the mysterious girl also wears the ring of transformation. This client is shrouded in mystery, and the search has just begun. The knight demands to lift the restriction, but the girl allows only speaking. He calls himself noble, but she cuts him off mid-sentence. Her name is Fina, and she is the true client. Fina is clearly disappointed. She expected a much more capable traveler, but instead before her is this hot-headed fool. She threatens to report his behavior, but decides to make an exception for the sake of his family's reputation. Then her sharp gaze fixes on Jairi. She scolds him for adding fire and orders him to ride in her carriage. While Jairi prepares for a long lecture, Reddy endlessly rejoices that her master receives special treatment. The group packs their things and prepares for the long road ahead. When everyone is in place, the carriage sets off for the city of Idle. Inside, the air seems to have stiffened. A heavy silence fills the space as Jair and Fina sit opposite each other. Jura introduces himself, and Fina asks him to drop these formal titles. Surprisingly, she is not going to lecture him, she has a question. She leans closer and asks if he knows anyone with black hair who wears a mask. Jair has not yet managed to recover from such a specific request. He tells her that at home, in his native town, he was the only one with such hair. At the same time, he adds, he has heard rumors that the hero chosen in Idle also has black hair. His eyes flash suddenly, an incredibly bright excitement overwhelms him. Her cheeks flush with a blush when she realizes her search may finally be coming to an end. At last, I will be able to meet him, my destiny. A sudden flash embarrasses her. She quickly hides her face in shame. Jeri begins to understand why she kept her identity secret, even from the guild. Fina admits that she cannot reveal either her true social status or her real name. Jairi changes the subject and notes that their driver is extremely skilled. He concludes, the disguised woman is an elite bodyguard who is supposed to keep Fina safe without revealing her identity. Fina is stunned by his intuition and only confirms he hit the mark exactly. She notes, for a demoted adventurer, his observation skills are by no means average, but something much higher. Jeri again starts interrogating about this person, the very one she is searching for. Fina comes too close, burning with the desire to immediately share a valuable memory. GRA tries to keep distance while she begins the story about events 6 years ago. 3 hours pass, and Fina still babbles incessantly about her footprints on the white horse. She pauses and checks if Jurya is still listening to her monologue. Her voice carries high hopes for the black-haired hero, just as she once promised as a child. Suddenly, a loud rumble from her stomach breaks the romantic atmosphere. Embarrassed, she admits that she is hungry, and Jurya, as if immediately, remembers he has something to eat. He unfolds a magic circle, activates the item box, and pulls out a packet of snacks. Fenu freezes. How can some low-level traveler know high-level spatial magic? Jurya waved it off and said he didn't realize how much mana it takes to learn it. Fina recognizes the treats as the very famous Chartet candies they always sell out. Jir explains he accepts them as thanks for services but actually can't stand sweets. He hands the bag to Fina, and she solemnly promises to keep this gift safe. Outside, Reddy stands by the window and does not look away, pure, clear longing. It turns out, all this time she was writing, clinging to the carriage from behind. Fina decides that it's time for a break. Now everyone takes out treats and shares. Reddy is delighted, savoring high-quality snacks. Jurya passes the bags to the rest of the escort. He notices a knight sitting alone, by the fire still boiling after what happened earlier. The knight orders him to shut up. It's clear that he is still nursing his bruised ego. Jurya leaves the knight a package with snacks and, despite everything, says, let him report what he thinks about it. The knight stared at the bag and suddenly felt guilty for how he treated Jurya. He couldn't understand why the one he humiliated showed him such kindness. Wed shakes our protagonist and wakes him up to start the shift. He was assigned a night watch with a replacement in the cemetery shift. Wed whispers for him not to relax and to keep everything ready, hinting at an angel who might tempt as soon as he lowers his guard. The man stubbornly insists that he was able to keep himself under control only because he is already married. The embarrassed protagonist turns around and notices Fina is looking at him with a gentle smile. She approaches and politely says, good evening. When he asks why she is here, she replies with a playful pout. She wants to try standing guard, considering it valuable experience since she rarely leaves the palace. Fina clenches her fist and insists that she is actually quite strong despite her appearance. He realizes there is no other way he will have to fulfill his client's whims. She completely sneaked past her own guards just to end up here. Not wanting to leave her alone, he decides to stay and keep her company. Suddenly, his ears catch a barely audible rustle in the nearby bushes. With a precise throw, he hits a small creature hiding in the grass. It is a rare rabbit that has disappeared and is bending and dropping D-rank, luck for any traveler. Fina instantly falls in love with how cute this creature is. She admits that she has never seen one of these alive. The protagonist pulls out a knife and explains, meat and fur sell for a lot of money. Fina is completely shocked by the sudden threat to her cute little animal. He quickly gives up under her gaze and suggests she better pet him instead of being scared. She reaches out her hand and gently touches the rabbit on the head. While she was petting the fluffy animal, he noticed an unusual pendant she was wearing. Fina says that it is her greatest treasure. A kind man returned it to her after she lost it. He understands the pendant he found earlier really belonged to her. She opens it. Inside lies a photo of the person she is looking for. but her own face suddenly distorts with an expression of deep anxiety. She fears that the person she cares about will no longer be in this world. For a whole 9 years, she waited long, painfully, without stopping. The silence in the forest presses on the chest while he contemplates her words. He looks into her eyes and reassures, the person is definitely still alive. Fina pierced him with rays of light, thanks him because he is unexpectedly kind. He jokes about his own charm to keep the mood light while she laughs. He shares his simple philosophy, to do just enough to live without stress. Fina admits she really would like to live without the burden of her own status. He tells her directly, everything will be fine if she dares to run away with that man. She also admits another thing when they finally meet. It might turn out that she has enough audacity to do it. He encourages her to be a little selfish after all. She waited almost a decade. His advice hits the mark. A sincere smile flashes on her face like a flower blooming. She finds it strange. She can talk to him about everything. He asks her to trust him every time when anxieties spiral in his head. She excitedly agrees immediately and accepts his offer. She wants to talk even more with her special person. Several days on the road pass without any monster attacks. Other adventurers focus on trivial matters, so the protagonist has only one option left to act alone. Finally, the group gets out of the forest near a small village. Strangely, there is no guard at the gate at the entrance. Sensing something wrong in the air, the company decides to go inside and check everything thoroughly. The streets are deathly empty, not a single villager is visible. And then the old man suddenly appears, staggering as if on his last breath, and desperately drags himself forward to them. He throws a terrifying revelation into the air. In this village, absolutely every person was kidnapped. According to the survivor, a few days ago the village was looted by people in masks and monsters. The attackers rummaged through houses searching for food and valuables, then took every resident without exception. They bypassed the guard near the gate, hiding in the merchants' cargo wagons, and the local means of communication finally lost their power. Fener grasped the grim truth. This was not just a raid, it was slave trading, doomed to slavery. Kane confirms, although Hurt Continent abolished slavery several years ago, in other lands, particularly in Bestia, human trafficking still thrives and remains brutal. Their human slaves are sold at a high price, and this price is fueled by ancient resentments from past wars. The old man was left behind only because his wounded legs made him useless to the slave traders. Kane turns to Fina and asks what her next move will be. He reminds her, they were hired for escort, but the decision to intervene belonged only to her as the client. Since the attack was recent, Fina knows the chance to intercept them is still slim. She closes her eyes for a moment to gather her courage. We will save them. I cannot afford to abandon them, she declares, holding a confident tone. Her determination raises a wave of excitement and readiness throughout the party. The team will wonder how to track the bandits in the vast wilderness. Fina almost exposes herself as soon as she offers to use her high-level clairvoyance, but the guards immediately intercept her and do not allow her to reveal her identity. Kane steps forward and breaks the tension, showing a rare set of magical binoculars. The group freezes in shock, seeing a high-level tool in the hands of a low-rank adventurer. Kane spins a tale, as if it were just a lucky find from ancient times, while he already begins to scan the horizon. But they don't have to wait long. Kane finds a hidden cave where the bandits have set up camp. Fina takes the binoculars and confirms. The villagers are still alive, they are still being held inside. But the situation is already on the edge. The bandits control over 60 B-rank monsters. A frontal assault looks like suicide due to the colossal difference in numbers. They negotiate a diversionary maneuver to quietly lead the villagers out, fearing the bandits might take hostages if things turn bloody. The red-haired elfess begins to lose patience and persistently cuts through the air with words, just smash the enemy here and now. Her eyes flare with predatory audacity as she prepares for battle. It seems Kane does not understand why everyone is so worried about these chances. He humbly smiles and shows that they surprisingly easily overlook the main thing. Their team already has a hero. This is a sudden realization for seasoned travelers who have managed to forget what incredible power stands nearby. From heavy steps in the cave comes a dull echo, and the squad, rushing forward, begins a sudden attack. The elf releases a colossal fire volley, boldly mocking the bandits while they fluster in hopes of reacting somehow. One of the kidnappers immediately bursts into flames and screams the ambush is already gaining the upper hand. A warrior from the squad finishes off, stabs with a spear, charges it with sparkling lightning, and the bandits scatter in panic. With despair, the bandit leader orders the monster pack to tear apart the newcomers. The beastmen pack lunged at the heroine, but she did not move a step, completely indifferent. With one smooth motion, she cuts through the monsters with frightening ease. From the height above the battlefield, Kane watches the carnage unfold, holding a relaxed, almost indifferent facial expression. At the moment, he hangs upside down on the ceiling completely hidden, and he is not visible. He uses gravity magic to watch over the home, while others take on all the hard work. He solemnly tells himself, as a miserable adventurer lowered in rank, he cannot withstand such a high-level fight, so at least he will not get in the way. Suddenly his gaze stops dead on the very same turtle scarf worn by one of the bandits. The sight tears him into a dark memory from the past, and the tragedy surges again, although he already thought it had receded. He tries to shake off the mental fog, angry that during an active mission he is once again pulled back into the past. Deciding to act cautiously, he prepares to come to help if it becomes necessary. He casts a detection spell and sends a pulse that maps the entire cave labyrinth. He confirms, on the other side of the cave, the villagers' rescue is going smoothly, without any glitches. He watches as his fair-haired partner continues to thin the enemy ranks, and nearby the lone wolf is still prowling. Suddenly a bandit slips out of the darkness, sneaking up behind her and raising his blade. Kane realizes even though she annoys him, he cannot just leave her to die. The blade presses closely to the throat, but the victim is not the one you would expect at all. Kane watches from the shadows, deciding the time has come to intervene. With a barely noticeable twitch, his puppet magic grabs the attacker's limbs like a doll on strings. The killer is left only in horror. His own hands turn against him, and the dagger cuts deep into his own neck. When the traitor falls, a fierce growl tears through the cave, a sound that signals a new threat. The silver-haired noblewoman reacts instantly. Her blade cuts the air with the honed precision of practice. High above, Kane remains seated on the stone vault, watching the chaos attentively and critically. He brushes it off unimpressed. Her movements barely reach C-rank standards, though her reputation is quite different. She doesn't even use basic body-strengthening magic, and remains powerless while the beasts tear her apart. Kane can't help but chuckle quietly, recalling his own exhausting days when he learned to bind and keep his goals under control. Beneath him, the young warrior finishes her fight with a decisive chopping strike. "Last one," she shouts, and the fight finally reaches its conclusion. While the rescue squad tries again to regroup, they go deeper and deeper into the cave system. When no one is left, Kane quietly sinks to the floor. It's time to get down to real business. He slips into the hidden chamber where the peasants were kept. He notices a wall that looks like a dead end, and just by breaking the technique with a simple release, the illusion shatters. Behind him stretches a huge glowing magical circle. It pulses with arcane energy, as if breathing. It is finally necessary to bring everything to an end and finally get answers. Somewhere else, the panicked bandit leader is fleeing, saving his own life. He convulsively clenches the subordinate bells, vainly searching for a new place to restart his plan, but then suddenly his legs cramp as soon as Kane appears. He paralyses him right where he stood. Kane raises the bells and immediately notices there are exactly 10 of them, these unusual magical instruments. With these, one person could control an entire army of monsters. The bandit, in a stunned stupor, demands an explanation of how Kane found him so quickly. He is sure that his concealment magic was flawless, but Kane only sighs in response to the amateurish attempt. "Did you think I wouldn't see it, hiding it so crudely?" he asks, stepping toward the fallen man. The bandit cannot believe, once he was an A-rank mage. Kane ignores ego pleasures and concludes, "This large transfer circle was created to transport peasants to the continent Bestia. This is a direct reference to the land of monsters and trade." Kane's eyes grow cold as he asks if that man is a survivor of the legendary Skull Brigade. The bandits turn pale. He recognizes in him someone who knows his dark past. Kane restrains him with a look cold, merciless, without any concessions. He suddenly realizes his own mistake. Years ago, he decided that he had wiped out every last one from that group. The bandit twitches in place, hoping the paralysis will wear off and he will manage to break away. Kane warns, moving is a death sentence. The paralysis is infused with poison that spreads through the veins. The man in horror pleadingly extends a trembling hand, begging for his life. Kane stops, then looking down, surveys the pitiful scene. He asks if this man is truly ready to repent and surrender himself to the knights. "I swear," he screeches, and in his head there is only one thing, finally found a way out. Kane's smile does not reach his eyes as soon as he grabs the bandit by the hair. Kane pulls the man closer, and the air suddenly chills. "Unfortunately for you, I have decided I will never trust people like you again." He talks about the hellish fate of slaves in Bestia 1, where they later begin to regret even being born. "This is a world where no one hears your screams and no help ever comes." Kane turns away from the man and says that he does not deserve any kindness before walking away. With a final burst of anger, the bandit throws a bell. Its ringing calls a whole pack of monsters to finish Kane off. A pack of mad beasts closes in nearby, and the bandit laughs. He is already reaching out to pull Kane with him and knock him down together. Kane does not flinch at all. His face remains eerily calm. With a single quiet command, he orders them to stop. Stop interfering. Open the way for him, he commands, and the monsters freeze in place, not taking a step. They scream in fear and part like the sea, letting him through. The bandit freezes in complete shocked horror and watches as Kane passes by the beasts with a terrifying smile. He looks the wolves straight in the eyes and gives the order, clear the way immediately. With a heavy sigh, he lifts his gear, and a magical circle flares beneath him. Come on, he mutters, and the air thickens with dark intent. He notes to himself, the darkness is especially thick today, and an even more sinister smile spreads across his face. In a fur cloak, he looks nothing less than a true, terrible lord of demons. Returning to reality, he hides his face in his palms and dies of complete shame. Nearby, some traveler asks if he feels any worse. After all, he behaves so strangely. He remembers how a few hours earlier, he was just chasing human traffickers through the transfer circle. The adrenaline from this mission clearly awakened in him, the part he usually keeps locked away. It was a full relapse of the 8th grade syndrome that he had carried since the very beginning of puberty. He snaps his fingers and decides once, and for all to hide this humiliating show as far away as possible. The peasants prepared a grand banquet to celebrate their salvation. While he enjoys a huge piece of meat, he notices Kane leaving the party. He calls out, asking why he is not eating, and Kane orders him to leave me alone. Kane bitterly remarks he has no privilege to eat like everyone else. He is crushed by the realization that he was useless, and during the fight he fought only a single wolf. The main character awkwardly freezes in place with food in his hands, while Kane continues to boil with anger. He tries to calm him with words that he himself was just watching the house then, but Kane suddenly snaps. Kane shouts, "I am Kane, the third son of the Stahl's family." The main character is stunned, frozen by the sharp, aggressive outburst. When Kane says aloud that he has no talent, his voice fades. He painfully realizes it. He clearly remembers how his relatives called him a disgrace and ordered him to be grateful at least for being alive at all. Born without magical power, he could not even imagine from the very beginning that he could catch up with his gifted brothers. In the end, his father gave him a high adventurer rank for only one reason: to protect the family's reputation. He was handed a decorative B-rank tag and forcibly pushed into a party of the high-rank elite. Kane truly believed he had finally found a place where he really belonged. He cared for his party members and considered them his closest friends. Looking back at that naive version of himself, he can only call the past idiocy. One night he overheard his comrades laughing, saying they were just using him for his money. They mocked his kindness, confident in one thing: he would pay for all the equipment as soon as they pretended to apologize. The realization that he was just a walking wallet shattered his whole world. He burst out into the rain, hesitating over how those he trusted could turn out to be so heartless. Since then, he has looked at all low-level adventurers as trash. He sees them as parasites, those who exist only to latch onto others' success. Kane falls to the ground, in tears, unable to hold back accumulated resentment. The protagonist says, "Well then, if you change your mind, then come," and then, without pausing for a moment, turns around and walks away. He tosses a small pouch toward the nobleman and states that he wants a second opinion about some dish. "Try this properly and tell me, okay?" he says, waving his hand as if casually. Kane grabs the pouch and thinks, why show even a drop of kindness to some worthless D-rank? Returning to the banquet, our hero realizes being noble is much harder than it seemed at first glance. In reality, he is simply curious whether the palate of the aristocrats can handle the local sweets. When the celebration ends, the carriages set off again to their quiet mission of guarding. During the lunch break, the hero quietly disappears to find a quiet place and sleep. By the water, he finds a secluded town, settles more comfortably, and lets himself fall asleep. When he finally opens his eyes, he is stopped by a sight that makes him freeze solid. He finds himself in the middle of a flesh-colored space and has no idea how to get out of there. Jar stumbles upon a nightmarish situation while trying to sleep normally. He is forced to reach for camouflage magic, only to remain unnoticed by the rest of his party. One wrong blonde move, and he is branded as a spy observer for life. Feeling the walls closing in, he instantly realizes, now or never. A flash of magic, and he is already transformed into an innocent hare, sadly drooping to slip away unnoticed. But as soon as he realizes his metamorphosis is far from perfect, panic washes over him. He reached the dense forest cover in time faster than the allotted time could run out. As he regained consciousness, he noticed a strange gathering of spirits deep in the forest. He quickly retreats beyond the magical barrier, yet still feels. He just encountered someone's mysterious breath. 5 days later, the escort mission continues. The group confidently moves toward their goal. But most of the party still clings to the maps, as if they have remarkably forgotten the danger on the road. Jerrier sighs quietly. During such a critical mission, they just can't focus. When the journey finally comes to an end, he waits for the scouts to return from the city of Adel. A soldier suddenly jumps out from around the corner and rushes forward. His face turns pale with pure horror, and a scream bursts from his throat. This is bad. But the group still tries to stop and calm him, yet the man is beyond any consolation. Finally, he croaks out the most terrible truth ETAL has. An overwhelming horde of monsters has completely taken control of the city. Before them is a true vision of hell. It crawls, swarming with those who never calmed down feudal dead. The city has turned into a real graveyard. Horde, rotten forces pulse through the streets, yet the horde remains stuck behind the city's magical barrier. Looking at the carnage, the party finally understands. These monsters were most likely the very citizens they were supposed to protect. The members of Hero Party discuss that summoning such a huge number is simply impossible, and a girl whispers a prayer just to stay alive. At least let them sit quietly and just hide. Kane does not buy her optimism. He looks at her with complete skepticism. He demonstrates the cold truth in a massacre of this scale. Survival is a futile dream. Stunned by fear, Kane demands that they leave the city immediately. The veteran adventurer offers him an opportunity. He tells the young man, run if you can't endure the fight. Kane insists, staying is a suicidal mission. He looks at the giant walls, knowing for sure. The barrier is the only thing keeping the nightmare locked in. The veteran warns, if this barrier cracks, the horde will move against all neighboring countries. Monsters will sooner or later reach the kingdom of the university, and only bones will remain of it. While the life of his family hangs by a thread, the veteran will not retreat a single step. He orders Jir and Kane to escort the lady back for reinforcements, while they themselves hold the line. To everyone's surprise, the girl refuses to go. She says she must stay and fight. She needs to confirm the truth, the one only she can reveal. Kane loses control, shouting at them and accusing them of choosing certain death instead of salvation. The veteran smiles through the tension, admitting, he is terrified and losing loved ones is a horror worse than anything. Kane freezes, suddenly realizing, perhaps this is his last chance to finally find true friends and change who he is. He asks if a person like him can bring any benefit at all. The party welcomes him with open arms, and Jurgya immediately understands. The escape he himself planned has just gone awry. Jurgya flinches as all eyes turn to him. Aha, I will fight too. They huddle together to make a plan, focusing on how to find the master behind it all as if behind a curtain. Jurgya uses his magical tools to scan the area, but the criminal still remains invisible. The girl steps forward and declares that she has a way to track them. No matter how wildly she protested at the moment of appearance, she still prepares to remove her ring, the one that hides her true self. A blinding light explodes at the very moment she is ready to reveal her true power. She begins the ancient chant Raffin Odium Refinato. His disguise dissolves, and instead an aura of pure elegance flares up. So is it true, you really were a princess? Raffin admits plainly. She did not like to hide her face, but now circumstances force her to reveal all her power. Jir suddenly realized why she was so familiar. He recalled. She is the idol beloved by the kingdom. Her chambermaid, Cheyenne, warns. As soon as Raffin reveals her face, her life will immediately be in danger. Raffin does not listen to her words. With one commanding look, he orders the guards to be silent. She prepares to cast a high-level detection spell, and by this step eradicate evil. Calling upon the great spirits, the fourth princess of Universia begins her prayer. She will beg the eyes of God so that they break through the darkness. A massive wave of clairvoyant magic rolls through the entire city. Jurgya is stunned by her perfect mana control, as if he himself is leveling up in skill alongside an S-rank mage. He remembers the time when he failed. Mastering this magic did not work because he had to stare at books for hours, boring reading that made him nauseous. He decides to do without books and simply imitate her technique on the fly. In his thoughts, he constructs a mana structure, adjusting his own energy so that it matches hers. In a moment, Jurgya activates his own version of a high-level spell. He feels something prowling in the shadow right behind his back. A gigantic demonic skeleton looms over the party, and pure, naked malice flows from it. Its presence presses mercilessly, as if the air is compressing around everyone. Jurgya immediately understands. The princess's magic missed this creature is on a level she simply cannot overcome. Karthus reveals himself as a Death Eater, one of the 4 heavenly kings serving the demon lord. He waves his hand, calls the group forward, and promises them eternal sleep by their own hands. Everyone at the party is stunned. How could their clairvoyant fail to see such a huge threat? Karfaz mocks the very idea that he could be tracked by such primitive magic, and laughs at how easily such a reality even exists. Not retreating before fear, the rank adventurer draws his steel. He lunges forward with a void blade strike in counterattack, aiming to end the threat with one precise blow. His blade strikes against an invisible barrier, and Karfa asks if he is playing with a toy sword. The demon snorts, revealing its inhuman smile, testing those who consider themselves too valuable. In a flash of light, a magic orb pierces the traveler's chest. Above him looms the sight of Karfa, giving the order: worthless people must cease their futile resistance. The team's healer immediately casts High Heal, but Jirya manages to notice. The demon's strike was incredibly dense, almost without gaps in mana. They managed to stabilize the man, but without a hospital, his time is already running out. Rachai lunges forward, and swinging the holy sword Gyura, is the first to raise the attack. She stumbles over the name of her legendary weapon, but her determination does not waver because of it. She points directly at Jairi and declares, her teacher is 10 billion times stronger than any demon. Karfa dismisses these words as a ridiculous joke. He senses that someone is lacking mana, so he decides, enough playing around. He imagines the praise he will receive from the demon lord for this victory. To break their spirit, he claims that he has already dealt with the black-haired hero, about whom the demon lord warned him. Princess Raphine freezes, unable to digest the news. She begs him to say that it is not true. Karfaz shows a vision of the fallen hero hunched, exhausted, and completely broken. He mocks the hero's pathetic divine protection while the princess falls to her knees. Raphine is completely shattered. She mourns the death of the man she considered her destined one. Karfaz prepares to put an end to all of this. He throws out extra gravity, and with a rumble driving the whole gang into the ground, forces it to break under the blows. He triumphs, now none of them will slip from his claws. Even experienced travelers become completely helpless under the weight of this devastating force. Jerry realizes his size can no longer be hidden, so he can no longer hide in the shadows like a lazy D-rank. To the demon's surprise, Jer begins to rise. Slowly but surely he rises, overcoming the magical pressure. The ground cracks beneath his feet, and standing upright, he barely audibly asks himself, did he do it again? Karfaz panics and tears from the place, demanding, what is this magical instrument that disables spells? The enraged demon raises his voice and summons an abyss of black flame. He is ready to give Jir a terrible death. Jirya fixed his gaze on the fiery projectile rushing straight at him, while allies loudly begged, dodge. The black flame hisses and roars at the moment of impact. It bites into him mercilessly. Reddy and others freeze in place, and as if petrified, stare in absolute horror. When the smoke finally clears, Jir stands motionless and with boredom in his eyes looks around. Don't shout, it annoys. He mutters something hesitantly, almost without emotion. All he can do is freeze and remain in genuine shock. Kyra casually recalls that he has already endured dragon fire, so this is trivial. He grabs those flashing flames and throws them away like trash. Karfaz loses self-control. He cannot comprehend how his strongest attack was simply erased. He bombards the Calamity Water Dragon with continuous spam, but Jirya slaps him so hard that he disappears from reality. The demon covers everything with a storm of destruction, but Jir dispels it completely with a single breath. Karfaz stumbles, breathes hoarsely, and trembles in panic. The monster stands right in front of him. Jir understands. There is no choice, so he is forced to see it through to the end. Exhausted, Karfaz prepares a forbidden spell, as if for a final strike. He casts a dark spell, summoning the spirits of the abyss, and his voice becomes hoarse from tension. When the spell bursts outward, he commands the living to return to oblivion. A giant eclipse catastrophe flares above the castle, covering the entire battlefield. Jir raises his gaze to the crescent orb of death and realizes the demon has finally given his all. A huge fireball looms over the wall, as if putting a period. For everyone standing on the wall, death is near. Jirya does not move, not at all, even as the world around begins to burn. With a lenient wave of his hand, he activates skill interference to nullify the incoming magic. The catastrophic explosion simply dissolves into the void, even before it manages to touch. The Lick freezes in shock, unable to believe the incredible display of power. Jar waved off the monster confusion and insisted that he was an ordinary man. But very quickly he realized the undead king had already completely exhausted his mana reserve. In despair, the Lick began to retreat from the adventurer, who was relentlessly approaching. He did not even consider that some ordinary man could stand against his might. While time pressed from all sides, the Lick cast a manipulation spell, drawing out the last crumbs of his energy. He takes control over Jarai's companion and wants to use him as a living shield. The man moves against his own will. He is forced to stand in Jar's way and block the road. The Lick chuckles, reveling in the fact that with the hostage, he finally seized the initiative. Jari simply looks silently in response, a gaze of complete boredom. He directly tells the monster, this boy is not his friend at all. Both Lick and hostage freeze from the unexpected, cold-blooded remark, unable to gather their thoughts. Jir quickly explains, during the quest, their relationship is strictly professional. But when Jir's plan fails, Lick is not joking. He threatens to slaughter all the inhabitants of this city. Jir sharply points out the obvious, these people are already dead. After that, he dismantles the false barrier, exposing the twisted logic of the undead spell. Lick tries to catch him off guard, asks if he really wants to save the souls trapped here. The princess freezes in horror. Only then does the full weight of what happened reach her. She falls to her knees and in despair begs Dzuria to save her people. Morak mocks her grief, placing the fate of the city entirely on Dzuria's shoulders. She declares, if her people can be brought back to life, she will do anything. Her voice jumps and breaks as she continues to plead for a miracle. Dzuria cast a glance at the fallen hero and realized the barrier's defense should have kept him alive. He confirms without hesitation, the princess is truly ready to pay any price for his help. Without unnecessary words, he raises a massive cleansing spell over the entire territory, and a dazzling light floods the city, washing away the darkness. The citizens begin to wake up, confused by the feeling that what they dreamed was a shared nightmare. The Lick panics as his final barrier cracks and crumbles like glass. Dzuria silences himself with a self-satisfied smile, because the waves of battle finally turn in his favor. He says he only changed the conditions of the barrier to revive the living. The Lick trembles, unable to comprehend a spell of such a high level. In a final act of cowardice, the monster drags the hostage down with him, preparing to doom him to a fall. The comrade breaks the silence with a shout. Dzuria must kill them both, only then can the monster be prevented from escaping. He bitterly laments the life he has lived, feeling useless and worthless to everyone around. Dzuria exhales heavily, already bored of this dramatic monologue. He admits, though that guy is an annoying freak, he can't do without him. The hostage freezes as soon as Dzury's words finally reach him. Dzuria shifts his gaze from the monster and solemnly swears, today no one else will die. He extends a finger and releases a gathered, concentrated wave of power. Lick burns out instantly. Nothing remains of him, only a fading shadow. When the threat melts away, the party finally exhales with relief. The companion squeezes Jari in tearful hugs that break bones so tight that escape is impossible. He is overwhelmed by a wave of gratitude, and he doesn't understand why such a mighty monster still only has a D rank. The princess silently watches, her heart wildly pounding as she looks at her savior. She understands everything. Destroying such an obstacle with one blow is a feat bordering on legend. Dzuria just wants to rest a bit, and he is annoyed by the sudden surge of affection. He begins to think, maybe helping was not such a bad idea after all. Suddenly a cold thirst, chilling to the bone, covers the yard. Dzuria notices a new attack flying straight at the unsuspecting princess. He suddenly lunges forward and manages to knock her down and pin her to the ground. The explosion shakes the entire area, and a thick cloud of dust rises into the sky. Jari watches the girl closely and wonders if a new killer has appeared in the fight. He instantly realizes his clothes have been torn apart and scattered by the explosive force. Jari takes off his tattered shirt, revealing a torso covered with deep scars. The princess does not look away. She stares at the torn scars etched into his skin. Her eyes widen sharply with sudden understanding, and a long-forgotten memory finally begins to surface. Fate sets a trap in fatal moments, and for Raffen, it all began 9 years ago with a mysterious boy. At 6 years old, Raffen Odian Rafinato is a constant headache for the palace staff. Her father, King Pillar, indulges her whims and knows how to cover for her. So for every prank she endlessly talks her way out. But life within the cold palace walls falls like a real chill on the illegitimate child. Her sister Shunner leaves her alone so that she cries, clutching her teddy bear. She manages to escape loneliness only secretly. She sneaks into the forest and builds a secret base. But one day on her own territory, she encounters a stranger. It's a boy with black and white hair like pitch, a strange mask on his face, and he himself is doing push-ups while hammering. He immediately senses her presence. This is a warning, he demands. Appear immediately. He finds the place where she is hiding and waves her off, calling her just a lost child. He orders her to go home, let the parents worry only when they start noticing her absence. Raffen does not tolerate this. She jumps on the spot and screams for him to get off her territory. She tries to use her word magic to drive him away, but it does not respond at all, no effect. She freezes in shock. Her power used to work on everyone else, but here it suddenly failed. Noticing her frustration, the boy offers to tell an incredible story, one that will stop the tears. They sit side by side, while he spins tales much more interesting than anything in the palace. It touches her, she scoots closer and asks for more, though she pretends to still be offended. When the sun sets, he promises, tomorrow they will see each other again. Their secret meetings gradually turn into a daily routine. She falls in love with his stories about heroes and princesses. When she asks if she could ever become like that, he laughs and says, a princess needs to be more polite. But their plan falls apart when a gang of bandits intercepts Raffine on the way to the base. They notice a rich target and decide to demand ransom from her family. The leader tells her that she is coming with them. She screams for him to stay away, but her magic doesn't hold the targets break through the defense. She is pressed into the ground, and the pain becomes unbearable. Instead, the leader decides to sell her, mocking, saying that someday she will see her parents again. They cover her and throw her into a sack, but through the fear a voice breaks through. The hidden boy stands still with a sword in his hand. What are you doing? He asks calmly. In the blink of an eye, his followers are already lying on the ground. The leader is stunned by the boy's speed. He swings a huge blade and shouts at the boy not to be arrogant. In the fight, his sword is knocked out of his hands. The bandit laughs, calling the boy a fool for trying to be a hero. The boy just stands still and looks down. He asks why such a strong person chooses this path instead of a normal life. He really does not understand why the strong rob the weak. The bandit laughed out loud. Supposedly it's all for fun and only the most resilient survive. He moves for the decisive strike. Suddenly the boy catches the massive blade with his bare hand. He grabs the thug by the throat and lifts him with terrifying ease. He orders the man to surrender to the knightly order and repent. Gasping, the bandit begs, spare his life, and swears he won't do it again. He sharply falls to his knees, feigning a pleading apology as if about to cry. The boy's naivety is his weak point. He still stares as the man repents. Meanwhile, other thugs are already approaching from behind with drawn guns. Raffine is left only in horror. Mouth open, a scream breaks out. The bandits do not care at all about the boy's broken nose. They mock his lack of experience. The leader presses the blade to the bag and threateningly promises to crush the girl's head if the boy makes even one move. He laughs at the naive refusal of the boy to kill, poking, as if he lacks the decisiveness of a true warrior. To save the hostage, Kaido is forced to immediately deactivate the body enhancement magic. But without his magical protection, the bandits arrange a merciless, cruel massacre of the defenseless boy. Kaido crashes to the ground so hard it takes one's breath away, and his incredible endurance throws the leader off balance. Noticing potential in the boy, the boss offers to make him his right hand. He offers Kaido to join the Skull Brigade and be his deputy, the second person in the team. Kaido spits out a refusal, and for disobedience receives a heavy kick right in the face. The leader demands a final answer, but Kaido rises to his feet. A terrible new aura flares around him. He coldly tells the bandits that their threats are no longer a problem. The leader can only freeze in confusion as the pressure in the air changes. In a moment, the other bandits are found dead or in agony on the forest floor. The leader demands an explanation of what happened, and Kaido admits he has finally gathered decisiveness within himself. He thanks the bandit for the help he showed him, what it really means to be a hero. Casting a merciless glance, he declares, now he will kill each of them to the last. The leader rushes forward with a knife, shouting that the boy is dead prey. Kaido instantly paralyzes him with a spell called Marionette. He explains, this magic can permanently break a person's psyche if resistance is low. The bandit can only tremble with absolute horror. His body refuses to obey him. Kaido promises ruthlessness as he prepares to put an end to everything. With one bloody scream, the silence of the trees is torn apart, and this horror echoes among the branches. With one clean stroke, the bandit leader is completely erased. Kaido immediately turns his gaze to the girl and casts a healing spell. He pulls Raffine into a strong embrace and covers her eyes from the surrounding nightmare. He tells her that saving people is a hero's duty, and these words flood her with shame. Noticing her red face and mistakenly thinking she has a fever, he decides to take her home because it seems she has a high temperature. When she asks if he is a hero, he honestly replies, not quite yet. Still, he speaks with unwavering confidence that he will become a hero after all. He has a dream. Raffine promises to cheer for him with all his might. At that moment, the young princess suddenly clearly understands. What she feels for the boy is true love. A few months later, she comes across Kaido. He is lying in the grass, covered in blood. She panics as soon as she sees the huge claws tearing the skin on his chest. She calls the royal mages, but a strange obstacle blocks their healing magic. And yet, incredibly, Kaido managed to escape death by his own strength. When he recovered, Raffen joyfully rushed to play again, but the boy's gaze was already completely different. He tells her that he will no longer return to their hideout. He explains a decisive battle awaits him. He does not allow her to follow him and sharply cuts off, saying she would only get in the way. Instead, he places a magical ring of transformation in her hand. He asks her to be patient and promises to return victorious. Raffen is mistaken and takes this as a proposal of hand and heart, then solemnly vows to wait for him forever. As promised, Kaido never returns to the hideout again. She spends the following years believing they are playing out a classic hero's story. 9 years pass while she masters clairvoyance and detection magic only to find him. Despite incredible efforts, her magical searches yield no results. Nadia finally returns to action as soon as rumors of a black-haired hero in a neighboring country reach her ears. But that specific information, as it turned out, was false, yet fate brings them together again. The gaze lingers on the scars on Kaido's chest, and Nadia suddenly realizes why she did not recognize him earlier. Kaido jokes, supposedly she is just admiring his beauty to hide her own embarrassment. Raffen looks him in the eyes carefully and says that he is truly incredibly handsome. She is overwhelmed by a wave of emotions and throws herself into his arms. After all these years, she has finally found the one destined for her. Kaido feels that she was touched and jokingly tries to slip away from this too frank moment as quickly as possible. A whole day has passed since the killing of the skeleton who called himself the Heavenly King. While the black-haired swindler sits in a prison cell for his lies, a much bigger trouble is already ripening for our protagonist. Raffen is already dreaming of a grand wedding ceremony in the largest hall of the kingdom. Noticing that things have gone too far, he finally decides, it's time to get the hell out of here. He spins a magic ring on the go, and his hair color changes as he prepares to disappear before they catch him. Somewhere there, Kane is busy with something else. She needs to present a certain snack to the local noble lords. Approaching the counter, Kane is already aiming to drop a real bomb on the guild staff. In panic, the visitor hands the receptionist documents, a statement of voluntary demotion. To go from the prestigious B rank to the humiliating D rank in the ancient stories of the guild, this simply never happened. Kane says she has lost patience hiding behind a decorative title, and she wants to earn her status through real effort. Recently, she already confirmed her mettle. In a fake fight where no effort was made, she crushed a C-rank knight. Because before, she had never truly tested her limits against anyone except her brothers. She strives for a new start from the absolute bottom. Her goal is to become strong enough to be a worthy companion to the man she respects most. After a modest apology, the former members of her party gladly accept her back into their ranks for a new journey. The receptionist is confused when she sees the noble family name is not in the registry. Kane decides to leave bureaucracy behind and step into the light of a new life. From this moment on, she is simply Kane, an adventure walking its own path. Her first real adventure begins as soon as she sets a distant new destination for herself. We cross the continent Rathasvit, heading towards the dark, gigantic spires of the Demon Lord's castle. Inside, the skeleton acolyte sobs incessantly, begging the Demon Lord to hear her troubles. And the current Demon Lord Luna is actually a young fox girl who is already sincerely tired of all these endless dramas. She sharply cuts off her subordinate and orders her to no longer appear in her presence in such a frightening skeletal form. Yuri's subordinate reshapes her body into a cute girl, but even despite this, she is still gnawed by sadness over lost lives. Yuri admits, in fact, she wanted to give the Demon Lord the city of the dead, but first to curse the people from Ital. Luna is completely stunned. It turns out her subordinate did all this on her behalf. She did not even desire war. She only took the title Demon Lord to be able to eat candies all day long. Then Yuri creates a magical image of a powerful figure who destroyed her entire undead army. Luna panics. She recognizes in him the same devil who once chased her for 3 days and 3 nights. Trembling before the new encounter, she decides fighting is the last thing she wants. She makes a bold move, leaves the castle, and sets off on a global tour to taste delicacies. In the nearest forest, a red-haired woman crashes into an attack of maniacal, frosty laughter. Finally, she finds a man whose terrifying power brings her soul to a rainbow ecstasy. Although she was hired to kill Raffen, her main task now is to test the limits against this mysterious man. While she still cannot match him in strength, she decides to seek help to fill the power gap. Finally, the main hero stands before the gates of the legendary magical capital, towering above everything as if higher than the rest of the world. He has reached his goal, the country of sorcery, called Magako's Maya. When Kane arrives in a carriage, new threats emerge from the shadows, and from this moment a huge new chapter begins. Giorlaro starts his day exactly as he likes, simply by going back to sleep immediately. He recalls the nightmarish things he once fled from, both heroic parties and those unwanted marriage proposals. For such a man, laziness is the pinnacle of existence. But as soon as the quiet morning comes, he is pierced by a loud, piercing scream that repeatedly shouts his name. Sharon Tepman does not even think about giving in. She orders him to finally get out of bed. He bitterly reproaches himself for the lack of rest after a series of chaotic events that followed one after another. He was dragged to a heroic party, and in his mind a battle with the skeletal Sky King flared up. And there was a fourth princess, Raphine. She decided that he was her destined partner, so she forced him to wear the transformation ring to hide her identity. He rushed across the entire country in record time to find refuge in Sha, in the land of magic. Now he begs only for 3 hours of peaceful sleep. Char shakes wildly, but Jurai stubbornly refuses to move. He jokes that his divine blessing of sleep has evolved into eternal immersion. Char is a 500-year-old elf, and somehow he manages to endure his own endless foolishness. Although she looks innocent now, she was once a legendary assassin sent to eliminate Jurai. Her mission failed disgracefully. She cried until Jurai calmed her with a candy. This simple, sweet treat forged an unbreakable friendship between them. Now she is the proud owner of a successful confectionery. Jurai casually fixes his messy hair and the elf involuntarily lingers on the very touch. She panics and exclaims, "Please be careful," until she realizes how that sounds. She scolds him for actions that girls can so easily misinterpret. She says that recently a black-haired angel was looking for someone in her shop, and this makes Jurya reconsider the idea. The princess might be closer than he had imagined. They celebrate the loud success of the new product Hara, made following Jurya's advice. Char declares that it is better to let Hara live as a freeloader forever, but Jurya insists. He wants at least to repay the debt. She hands him a ticket to a prestigious magic tournament. He immediately notices. The entry requirements for ordinary people are extremely strict. To his horror, his name is already written on the ticket as a representative of the Royal Magic Academy. Suddenly, a talking cat appears in the room, Aldi Otis. Jirei clearly grimaces at the smug appearance of this cat. But it turns out, Aldi Otis is the one who performs the duties of the head of the Royal Magic Academy. The reason is also found. Char asks the cat to pull some strings to get a recommendation. Jurya pulls the foul-mouthed cat aside, demanding explanations about this trap. Aldi assures that he is only helping Char, but Jurai does not believe a word. He tries to cancel the recording immediately, claiming that he has no connection with this school. But Aldi reveals the real reason. He wants to explore the huge mana reserves of Shirei. 4 years ago, Jurai saved this cat in the forest from an S-rank monster. At that time, Aldi tried to involve him in a teaching position, but Jurai ran away as soon as the research became too creepy. Aldi officially blacklisted Jurai for his persistent pursuit. The cat states that they were looking for a man with red hair, thus only confirming they still do not know Jurai's real hair color, black. Jurai decides to keep the truth secret at all costs and preserve his true appearance undisclosed. He tells Charu that he is withdrawing from the tournament because he hates everything annoying. After that, he informs Sha and adds that he is canceling his entry. Her appearance and she immediately breaks into tears, which completely throws him off balance. Char blames herself for everything. She thinks she is too selfish and only hinders him. She continues to sob and endlessly apologizes for making him do what he does not like. Frightened and overcome with guilt, Jir shouts, "But I'm joking," and swears to come back for real. The light flashes instantly, tears disappear, and a wide smile flashes on the face. Aldi in the background sports a self-satisfied, victorious grimace. Jur understands everything. He has directly fallen into a trap that will force him to really get to work. His position is now securely fixed both as a participant and as a teacher. He involuntarily wonders, will he be able to teach anything at all except the art of being lazy? Above Megicosmia Magic Academy, the sun shines brightly. Our protagonist finally sinks into silence. Relief spreads across his chest, and he rejoices that he is still alive. He is not here to teach anyone, he came just to work as a janitor. Loading the academy's tools with his huge supplies from the estate, he managed 2 weeks of work in 1 day. But as soon as hope for a short sleep appears in his head, it is shattered by a commotion nearby. A noisy group of students begins to cause a disturbance. A young guy named Ludas shouts at his friends, "Get out of here." He tries to focus on studying, but as soon as he immerses himself in the material, it suddenly turns out to be too difficult. The group quickly starts shouting. They argue with each other out of anger. The teachers refuse to teach them high-level magic. The janitor, observing their enthusiasm, clearly understands. These are not just slackers, they have real goals behind them. The dreams of the people about a true teacher, one who is not bound by boring academic textbooks. The janitor decides that this drama does not concern him and tries to pretend he sees nothing. In desperation, Luda decides to act by force and casts high-level magic that he does not even understand. He tries to use high heel on his own body, but misses the target. At that moment, everything falls apart. His hand bursts into necrosis and falls off. Panic overwhelms him as the students scream in horror, looking at the bloody mess. Excessive healing on a healthy body becomes a death sentence for the limb. Just as the girl manages to scream, "Help!" the janitor quietly mutters a counterspell. In a flash of light, the boy's hand is completely restored, as if nothing had happened. The students freeze in shock. No one guesses who could have dared to perform such high-level magic. Not wanting to attract attention, the janitor sneaks away through the grass. He knows well, as soon as he is found, his days of idleness will immediately end. The secret was revealed the very next day. As soon as the children reported the incident to the principal, they began searching for their savior. At first, he refused to help, but the students forcibly dragged him into a duel. It's simple. If they can wound him within 3 minutes, he will teach them magic. They call him the Old Man, although 18 years old is, to put it mildly, an exaggeration. He orders these kids to stop holding back and attack him all at once. Luda steps forward first and hums a complex fire spell. He releases Ventoignes, and the flame rises in a giant explosion. When the smoke clears, the janitor stands in place, and there isn't a single scratch on him. The students can't believe that he neutralized high-level magic so easily. The girls raise the stakes to the maximum and weave combination magic, increasing their own power. It looks like an impressive display of control, but the janitor is not affected at all. He bursts from his spot like a smeared trail and crashes into their performance before the mana can stabilize. "Your transformation takes too much time," he mocks, leaving them with wide-open eyes. And suddenly the boy jumps out from behind and rushes forward for an unexpected physical attack. The janitor effortlessly dodges the heavy hammer and declares that this move is naive. Before they can regroup, the timer on the clock tower reaches its limit. 3 minutes come to an end, and the janitor solemnly proclaims his victory. The students are shattered by the realization. It turns out they really had no chance. He asks why it hurts so much for them to study, and they finally reveal the truth. They do not want to become political figures in the hands of their noble families. They want to be free travelers. The shared dream hits right in the heart, and the janitor immediately regrets having asked at all. He sighs and agrees to teach them only a little. He assures it's all just so as not to suffer from guilt if in the future they die like dogs. The children burst with joy, surround the new teacher, and shower him with a hail of questions. He tries to keep a calm face, but the energetic company is already driving him crazy. Jin explains the magical theory. The final result of a spell depends only on the raw output of the power of the sorcerer himself. The students are dissatisfied and immediately demand a more detailed explanation. An involuntary groan escapes him personally. Being a lecturer is a constant headache. He clarifies that during their duel, the enhancement of his body simply squeezed out much greater power than the attack of his opponent itself. The problem of modern mages is that they rely too much on chance, instead of valuing the freedom that magic gives. To not leave words just as words, Jin squeezes a lump of mana in his palms. And without any fuss, he blasts it right out of the classroom window. A giant explosion flies into the school, the territory shakes, and Luda is completely stunned. Jin notes, initial magic can repel advanced spells if the mana expenditure is high enough even before the end of classes. The student tries to stop him, but Jin pulls further. He will no longer answer any questions outside his official hours. She silently nods towards the huge crater that he just made with an explosion in the yard. Jin's face pales as soon as he realizes the scale of his mistake. This event explodes into a loud scandal for the academy. As punishment, Jin was obliged to compensate the school 30 million rians. He wanders the campus grounds all day, desperately searching for any money. His only hope is the prize of the magical tournament, although all this fuss seems like pure torment to him. Breaking down in despair from helplessness, he screams and begs, "Find a way to get endless money." A calm voice orders him to be silent. He looks around and sees a young woman who is calmly reading on a bench in the park. He notices that it is Eva, and also she has changed her hair color. He asks if it suits her, but Eva sharply cuts him off, saying that it doesn't work at all. Eva reveals she is a graduate who was brought back to teach white magic. Jin immediately understands. The main cat is persuading everyone into lectures, one trick after another. They recall former comrades, and with a hint of anxiety note, Reddy is now stuck in a battle with monsters, and Lena is missing. Jin breathes a sigh of relief. He definitely won't run into Reddy. Yet suspicion still lingers. Lena seems to be the one who tried to kill the princess. Eva throws out that the princess keeps asking him, and Jin breaks out in a cold sweat. He will beg Eva not to reveal to anyone where he is now. Eva responds by showing the sign of money with her fingers. Jin tries to bribe her, but she just brushes it off jokingly, as if saying that about turning him in she was just joking. He bursts out and falls to the ground in a full bow, begging her to keep silent until she commands to stop talking. Jen asks if he can sit next to her for lunch. She coldly tells him that if he doesn't like this company, he should find another place. They hang in an incredibly awkward silence. Jin is sure that she is a light, picky eater because she has a slender figure. Suddenly, Eva grabs a huge tower of bento from the table. She begins to devour the food with incredible speed. He catches her gaze, he freezes, and she blushes and orders him to look away. Jin apologizes and can hardly believe how long she still wants to keep eating. To distract herself, Jin takes out her wind boots and starts maintenance. It immediately becomes clear he has forgotten how to properly adjust them. Eva leans closer and instantly recognizes the artifacts. She almost enters his personal space, showing exactly where he needs to insert his mana. Under her guidance, the wings on the boots come to life and spread out. They both understand. They are in love with magical instruments just as much as with each other. Mutual respect sparks as soon as they shake hands firmly and in a friendly way. Jin remembers the upcoming hero's birthday festival, and also how he is always rejected at the artifact show. The festival is a grand event. Townspeople wear red wigs to honor the heroes. Eva sighs heavily, reaches into her bag, and looks for what should be there. Jin drops his jaw in such surprise that his eyes almost pop out of their sockets as soon as Eva pulls out 2 tickets. These are paired tickets to the artifact exhibition, which the organizer gave her. Jin says it's disgusting to use connections to get tickets, and then immediately beg her for one. He agrees to give it to him, but despite everything, she makes a condition, in return a deal. "Come with me to the store," she says. Jin freezes in place, stunned, and suddenly it dawns on him. He has just been caught on a date. The princess briskly approaches Jairi and makes an unexpected demand to go shopping with her. She insists she needs to buy new clothes. She explains, since childhood, it was naturally important for her to follow fashion. But there is also a catch: she wants to look good for Ray, for the person she loves. Jir notices a pair of tickets in her hands and wonders, did she plan from the very beginning to go with this mysterious man? She admits that she cannot go this year and suggests they go shopping right after classes. The bomb explodes just as she starts demanding that Jri pay for everything she buys. Jri cannot believe his ears. He asks twice if she really expects him to pay for everything. He panics, realizing he has no money or trace, but still holds on to hope. The selling price of those magical tickets might save him from trouble. He agrees to the trip, but only after the upcoming magic tournament. But while he walks the streets, Jir sobs over his financial situation and suddenly realizes prize money alone might not be enough to cover the debts. He is already about to turn to Shar for a loan, but notices 2 suspicious figures behind her shop. He eavesdrops as one girl calls the other Demon Lord, while he tries to push her up through a high window. A little girl is arguing with her friend, saying that she is too loud. They are madly rushing to the place they call the Paradise of Paradises. Yuri suggests simply breaking the wall, but the blonde refuses. She does not want to cause even the slightest harm to people. Jir silently watches this strange performance with a stone face. Finally, he speaks, and it seems to knock the soul out of this pair with one blow. The blonde freezes in place. Panic tears her from the inside because she feels a demon is in front of her. Yuri tries to calm her down and explains that Jir does not have the black hair of the person they are currently afraid of. They silently look at each other, and awkward silence hangs between them. Jiri calls them out for rudeness, especially considering that they are trespassing on someone else's territory. The blonde tries to lie and pretends to be an employee, but Jir exposes her. He says he personally knows the manager. She is caught in a lie and she starts screaming, claiming that he set her up. Suddenly, Yuri kneels and introduces the blonde as the one and only ruler of demons, who will one day rule the world. Jor is left only to stare back, complete incomprehension. A blonde named Luna immediately silences Yuri for using her title in public. Jeri believes that this is just some cunning spectacle with a hero and the Lord of Demons. He stands in their way as they try to leave and notices how miserable they look. Jeri pulls out a basket filled to the brim with elite snacks. He offers them the treats and tells them to go home before their parents start worrying. Luna freezes in place and asks if she can really have that many candies. She swears she will never forget this favor, even offers money, but Jer refuses. Holding the basket, she smiles and says she finally got a chance to eat them, even if only before death. Jurai's heart tightens as she explains. She sold her clothes and just trying to buy candies lost her wallet. She comes to the thought that people might not be so bad after all, but Yuri remains skeptical. As they walk away, Luna waves goodbye and swears to repay her debt to the red-haired person. They disappear into the night, leaving Jer alone. Djir spins a strange acquaintance in his head until he realizes he is still completely penniless. He abruptly rushes after the girls and shouts for them to stop. He directly demands, let them return that debt immediately. Later everything changes in the sky, rise wagons and brooms fueled by magic. The city buzzes and spirits flock to that crazy magical energy. The satellite Duray wants to stop for the hero Manju, but he himself is tied to the tournament registration. Somewhere ahead looms the huge Colosseum, and he is already ready for the Magicusmia magic tournament. Jairi has no idea who will be his first opponent. He surveys the arena as if trying it on for himself. Clenching his fist, he swears, for money he will do anything and win. Djir stops right at the registration desk of the 57th Magic Cosmia Magic Tournament. Broken and on the verge of despair, he understands well. He must win, otherwise the prize money will not be enough to survive. He does not dare to name his real name. He fears that those who are searching for him will be able to track the trail and find him. But when he asks the receptionist to call him Ray, she turns pale as if she saw a ghost. They say Ray-sama is a legendary hero who saved the country, and pronouncing his name is almost blasphemy. After a short lecture on local history, he suddenly realizes his alias might be too recognizable and settles on Rigi. As soon as the registration is completed, he is immediately warned. The schedule collapses exactly at 12. Before leaving, he is handed a lottery draw ticket for a random magical instrument. He walks away and hits the jackpot, takes with him a pair of custom Hanheim glasses created by Princess Alina herself. He is promised incredible durability and self-repair, but Jurai resists. He will never put on something so ridiculous. His tone instantly shifts the moment he notices Kane and the rest of the old team nearby. When Kane starts to recognize him, Jir realizes the mask must be put on immediately. He forcefully presses the flowered glasses onto his face and runs straight into the very absurdity. The plan works flawlessly. Kane decides he simply mistook the stranger for his own master and stubbornly tells himself that Jir would never wear something so ugly. Jir retreats into the shadows, sweating from the realization of how close he was to being caught. He managed to escape only in a hurry, and he accidentally bumps into an elf named Lena. She freezes, feeling something painfully familiar in him, but Jorah rushes forward before she can put everything together. Lena is here by her master's order to win money for research and a chance to prove what she is capable of. She dismisses her suspicions. The stranger's red hair and quirky glasses do not match the man she is looking for. She keeps her focus on the tournament, although she admits she still lacks the strength to kill him. While the event continues, Jurgya does not take off his glasses. He is just waiting for his moment to vanish immediately after everything ends. The arena goes wild as the 57th tournament officially starts. The announcer introduces the organizer, Princess Olna, and Jurgya freezes his gaze on his award, wondering what kind of person it takes to create such a thing. Olna appears on giant screens. Royal grandeur pulses in her, and petals begin to fall around like a whirlwind. She calls herself the 6th princess of Magicusmia. Jurgya freezes for a moment. Her delicate aura shines so brightly it almost hurts the eyes. That image instantly shatters as she cuts off her speech and calls the maid. It turns out the princess actually cannot read the script given to her. Her maid, Stika, right in the middle of the stadium, rudely humiliates her intelligence, shamelessly before everyone. Lena flinches, trying to compose herself and regain self-control as an awkward silence falls over the crowd. She finally pushes forward, blushing with anger, and demands that the participants fight with noble spirits. Just as she reaches the limit, the screen goes completely black. Jurya's first conclusion proved correct. The princess is indeed very strange. The first fight in Block A is announced. Reiji steps out against the tournament favorite. He faces Sengoku Granlubius, the reigning champion and master of the Valiant Warrior clan. From the stands, students scream and whistle wildly at their teacher, demanding, if he wins, he should buy them something. Jorai notices Char and others in the crowd and feels the pressure mounting. They watch, holding their breath, with anxiety and anticipation. The referee signals, and the match officially starts. Sengoku towers nearby and orders Ryuji to step back before he gets maimed. He warns, the battlefield heals wounds, but cannot erase the taste of defeat. Ryuji does not flinch for a moment. His calm gaze stares into space through pink-framed glasses. Sorry, but I can't withdraw the funds, he cuts off dryly and resolutely. Sengoku smiles, paying tribute to the unbreakable fighting spirit of the D-Rankers. He vows to give everything once the time comes in response to Ryoji's bravery. With a furious roar, the champion charges forward. And despite the massive warrior rushing at him headlong, Reiji remains completely still, calculating the next move with terrifying focus. His opponent growls with anger, while Reiji continues to easily and effortlessly spin around his strikes, dodging one after another. "Why do you only dodge?" shouts the armor-clad warrior. "Attack me." The man's anger chokes off because Reiji looks completely indifferent to the fight for life and death. Among all his senseless masquerade mask, Ryoji's thought relentlessly returns to the secret meeting he organized before the tournament began. He approached two girls he had helped earlier and presented a very specific bet on the table at high stakes. After all, participants were forbidden to bet against themselves, so Ryoji had to make them place a huge bet on his victory. The girls immediately agreed but warned. If he dared to lose their money, they would turn him into a mincemeat. With a confident, crooked smile, Ryoji assured them he had a flawless plan how to break the bank. Returning to the present, Reiji threw out a simple, apologetic remark, as if he had snapped out of his thoughts right in the middle of their duel. He counts the numbers in his head and clearly understands. The 31 odds will turn into an unheard-of fortune for him. The opponent is confused, demands an explanation of where this crazy confidence came from. Reiji replies, "Betting on just one match is trivial if you have the chance to bet on a loperka that will clear the entire block." His cold, calculated gaze is consumed by one thought. The payout could be astronomical. The warrior lunged forward, calling everything nonsense, while Reiji was already directing his mana. "Yes, the right answer," he mutters, preparing the final strike. A gigantic explosion shakes the stadium, and the fight ends with a single dazzling flash. When the smoke clears, Reiji stands victorious and is already counting the 91 million Ryan he just took. The announcer shouts in shocked disbelief as Reiji is officially declared the match winner. Later in the tavern, piles of gold coins stand so high that any adventurer's jaw drops. The girls are delighted, hardly believing their eyes, how he defeated an entire block with a single strike. The rumor about his strength spreads like wildfire, and people begin to call him Magic Bullet Reiji after he spent the whole day defeating every opponent with a single shot. Yuri and Lulu are already dreaming of buying estates and an endless supply of cute dresses. Reiji has to cut the festivities short and explain. On the last day of the tournament, no gambling will be allowed. He unexpectedly takes only a tiny share of the loot for himself, giving the rest to the girls. Then he announces a plan to pay off the academy's debt and take Eva shopping, assuring that he couldn't have managed without their help. After that, he tells them that with this money, they will never have to resort to theft again. Confused but grateful, the girls cover him with festive hugs. Eventually, they part with cheerful farewells, promising to support him whenever the need arises. Ryoji takes a pause to gather his thoughts about his next move, while the sun is already setting beyond the horizon of the second day. The final day of the tournament arrives. The arena is packed to the brim, and the rest of the competition follows a round-robin system. Reiji decisively wins the first 2 rounds, raising the pace almost without rest thanks to rare magic, a tool promised to the champion. The final match, a tiebreaker for first place against a mysterious newcomer who has not lost a single time yet. His opponent is a girl who looks about 16, dressed in gothic attire and strangely calm. Rumors persistently claim she covers the arena with a black haze, and enemies are left with no memory of their defeat. They face each other. The tension between them is so thick it can be cut with a blade. The referee gives the signal. The fight for the decisive match begins. She introduces herself as Enri and asks Ryoji to be gentle with her during the fight. They extend their hands, as if for a customary sports handshake to start the fight. As soon as Ryoji's skin touches hers, a wild attack of pain rolls through his entire body. He is knocked out by shock. He squeezes the hand, and his vision already begins to blur. Even with active physical strengthening magic, the sensation still burned the brain as if a deadly electric current had passed through it. Before she can counterattack, Henry raises her hand and sharply stops the fight, voluntarily surrendering. She tells him that she is sorry, but here she is unable to win, yet offers to talk properly later. Her smile is like a beautiful and eerie promise. They will see each other again very soon. The sudden, strange ending of the last match, announced in an instant, leaves him speechless. But despite all this mess, Reiji still announced the winner of the entire tournament, the overall champion. He was immediately taken to a private waiting room, and he is still trying to comprehend that strange encounter. He collapsed on the sofa and was informed that a VIP wants to talk to him about his victory. The door slammed, and the mysterious visitor was finally allowed to enter. Alina, timid noblest, the 6th princess of Megacosmi, enters the room. Riga's jaw nearly drops to the floor when the king hurriedly apologizes for the inconvenience caused by the wait. She replies, from now on, there is no need for official ceremonies between them. The princess moves closer and almost touches the secret. She knows exactly who he is. She looks at him with a burning, loving gaze, and he involuntarily freezes in place. The princess throws a bomb into the air and solemnly declares she will make Ryuji her husband. But Jerry Blentley does not get confused. He insists on his prize money and on the magical instrument to finally return home. He cuts her off with a firm no without any thank you, and doesn't even have time to think. Alina's ego takes a colossal hit, but does not retreat. A girl as beautiful as she cannot be pushed away. Jerry says that in this situation there is no benefit, but Elena insists. There is one big plus. She blushes and raises her lush body as if it were the grand prize. He decides to activate the Imperial evaluation to see what is really hidden under the hood. The evaluation reveals everything. It is an imitation of armor to fake the breast size from AAA to G cup. Stika even tries to emphasize her H cup, and this only makes the princess feel worse. Alina finally takes the situation into her own hands and seriously explains how the struggle for the throne, which is now tearing the palace apart, is unfolding. The king announced, whoever brings the person with the greatest magical power will inherit the throne. She needs Jury because he won the tournament, and she still remembers the terrible demon who pulls out hearts. Stika warns her to stop spreading unverified rumors, and Jury asks to hear more about that incident. Alina will beg him to help, but Stika reveals the truth. The princess is actually a lazy, clueless student who only needs an easy marriage to escape her duties. Jir refuses again, and no pleas will change his decision. He tells her it is absolutely impossible. Alina finally responds, it seems. But just as Jurya is about to leave, she snaps her fingers and a dark look flashes in her eyes. The anti-mage squad suddenly surrounds him, blocking the exit. Elena knocks off the mask and warns him he won't leave just like that. Jurya noticed them earlier. They were snooping around, using high-level obstacles and camouflage magic. Alina asks again if he will reconsider the marriage. Stika throws his thumb over the ledge, and Jir immediately understands. Today he will not get his prize money. He decides to resort to a spell he has been trying to avoid all along. He activates teleportation and shocks everyone in the room. In a moment, Jir disappears, and the princess remains staring at the empty carpet. Jurai emerges again, but the jump between dimensions throws him around like a meat grinder. He feels so nauseous that he is completely disoriented. His body stiffens, and his stomach cramps with convulsions. Teleportation is one of the hardest types of magic, and the physical cost here is ruthless. He decides not to waste any more time and sends a bill to his contact, Aldi, promising to pay back later with prize money. Suddenly, a girl and a son approach them, and someone notices that he has turned pale. Jurai tries to hold himself together and keep up appearances, although he actually feels bad. And she smiles from the very relief that he is okay. Jir immediately recognizes her. It is Raffen in disguise. Raffen shows him a description of the man he is looking for, and Jurai pretends not to understand, insisting that he has not seen anyone resembling that man. When he tries to leave, she asks, pass on the message if you see that man. She apologizes for selfishness and for putting her own feelings first for the last 9 years. She admits the inevitable, other women will be drawn to him. But as soon as she speaks about how strange it is for her to spend time under the same roof with a woman he is not married to, her tone sharply changes. Jurai breaks out in a cold sweat when she greets her with trembling words on her tournament victory. She tells him that his performance was truly wonderful. And then, firing the last bomb, she declares she will marry only one and only person. She calls him Jurai-sama and walks away, as if she had known exactly who he was all along. After this meeting, Jirei remains completely broken. Jir starts spiraling down because Raffin is actually already here in Major Cosmia. He still remembers that complete chaos with Princess Alina's marriage proposal and how he had to run away. He feels like he is being watched. Just the thought makes him tremble, but Evie only wants to find out what exactly is wrong. She asks if he wants to put an end to all this right now. He decides to push further to get tickets to the show of those artifacts. When she suggests changing clothes, he refuses to change his handsome face. Eva tells him to wait a moment. She is looking for a way out before everything is resolved. His end comes like this. He puts on a full set of heavy plate armor to hide his identity. Eve takes it as a funny idea, but still agrees. They start a shopping walk. They enter a clothing store, and she suddenly falls to the ground, as if something knocked her down right at the door. She reminds him, price tags do not always mean quality. Eva goes onto the fashion show stage and tries on one elegant dress after another. Jerry cannot tell how they differ from each other, and it drives her crazy. Then Eva changes course and transforms into a lady from high society. But she does not stop, tries a more boyish, practical style without unnecessary ceremonies. And then she generally puts on the maid's uniform and decorates the outfit with a cat theme. Finally, she appears in a giant fluffy bear costume. Jairi actually calls the bear costume cute, and it really gives her goosebumps. They stop by the very first dress she tried on and get ready to leave. While they walk, Eva says that this dress reminds her very clearly of a man named Ray. She takes his hand and asks to explore the city together a little longer. They wander the bustling streets like an ordinary couple, without any showiness. From street performers to creepy houses, they manage to see everything the city offers. They share huge ice cream cones and watch magical performances in awe. By the end, Jir was completely exhausted. He asks if she really had a good time. With a soft smile, she confirms, yes, it really was very fun. She thanks him again for simply allowing her to be herself. They set off to eat, but Jurai accidentally cuts his finger. Eva stops him, not letting him use magic to cover the wound. She heals the cut herself with one simple, unexpected gesture. Jurai is stunned. The injury disappears instantly, and without a trace, no magic, no explanations. In the restaurant, Eva leaves him alone to go get their food. Jairi overhears dark rumors about a demon terrorizing the local roads. The stories give him chills, but Eva soon returns with a mountain of food. She clears everything from the table in one sweep, and does it with such appetite that Jairi is momentarily speechless. She gives him the tickets as promised and, smiling, offers, "I'll walk you home." But before they set off, she leads Jurai to one last quiet place. She teases him about the crumbs on his face, saying he's a bit of a messy kid. And at that very moment, the hard, stoic shell cracks. She laughs out loud. Jera does not have time to recover from the sudden shift in her mood. She tells him that he looks better when he stops holding himself so seriously. Suddenly, tears sparkle in her eyes. The mood is about to change. She insists his character is exactly like Ray's. Jir puzzles over it. Maybe this mysterious Ray is his own past. Eva says that Ray is the strongest and kindest person she has ever known. He was her salvation, and she is sure today Ray will become a great hero. But as soon as she says this, her voice fades as she admits it is simply impossible. They stop by a stone monument wrapped in vines. Eva explains the painful reason why Ray cannot be here. After a short pause before the memorial, Eva looks back, a tragic smile on her face. She reveals the cold truth. The man she loved is already dead. Eva looks intently at the solemn monument and clearly understands she has reached the final resting place. This is not just a grave. Here rests the legendary hero Ray. Eva quietly places a bouquet of flowers, and in her gaze trembles a deep pain she does not dare to speak. She looks at Jurya and offers to become his confidant. She says it is better to release burdens than to carry them alone. Jere hesitates, but ultimately decides to do as agreed and spend the rest of the night beside her. Eva, obviously moved by his kindness, notices how his character reflects the hero she wants to have. She begins to open up, telling stories about Ray and how he shaped the person she is today. Before meeting him, Eva describes her life as dull, faceless gray. Ray brought color back to her soul, teaching that her life has value. He gave her hope, joy, and a reason to look forward. He revealed to her a world of beauty she did not even suspect existed. Grimacing with a smile from pain, she admits her deepest guilt. I love him. She did not manage to confess her feelings while he was alive, but she swears to tell him the truth when they meet again someday. Jurya wondered, could it be that she is going to resort to forbidden magic to bridge the boundary between life and death? But Eva's plan is indeed grand. She is searching for the legendary Dr. Rassel magic to bring Ray back to life. She firmly decided to meet him, again, no matter what the outcome. Unlike standard resurrection magic, which is bound by time and the state of the soul, the power of the world tree has no such limitations. Jurya perfectly understands how incredibly difficult this is. The White Mages Association keeps all data about it a state secret. Yet despite all odds, Eva stubbornly does not give up heaven if her search stretches over decades. Conquered by her determination, Jir swears, if he ever manages to uncover any information about the legendary tree, he will definitely inform her. When the night is already very late, Eve asks him to escort her home, and Jir agrees without hesitation. But their quiet walk is interrupted by a familiar figure. She rushes through the moonlit sky as if time has flown. Oldith familiar caddies in complete shock and panic. He brings depressing news. Jairi, for which the student was responsible, has completely disappeared. They still have not returned to the dormitory since yesterday. Even the guard assigned to watch over them has disappeared, and Aldi is already afraid that a terrible accident has befallen them. Jir recalls a terrifying rumor. Supposedly a monster hunts children and steals their hearts. Aldi begs Juri for help, but he responds in his own way, I don't want to. Eventually, he exhales with a sigh, as if giving up, yet still demands that the Academy compensate him for his time. When Eva asks how he plans to find them in such a huge city, Jerry does not hesitate. He activates clairvoyance, instantly stunning them both with the skill of high-level detection magic. In a moment, he scans all of Magico's Maya, but finds no trace of the children. The realization becomes terrifying. The students are no longer in this world. They were pulled into another to find the distortion that leads there. Aldi is already ready to pull out ancient artifacts, but Jurai's request is much more down-to-earth. He needs rats that live in this city. Somewhere deep in a dark cave, a wrapped figure laughs twisted, as if joy was made for it by a belt. A frightened student begs for help, but the killer sees only a toy in the boy. With a cold smile, the figure says, "Allow me to help you," and instantly swipes the blade. The monster squeezes a fresh human heart in his hands and grumbles that the harvest is still insufficient. A few more students lie motionless on the ground. Their fates are already decided. The killer drops to his knees, whispers a prayer, and fervently thanks his lucky stars for allowing him to do this. Wrapped in a maniacally radiant, wide-open smile, the killer dedicates the massacre to his lord, the mortal sin of gluttony. The house looks completely ordinary, but Jirya feels. Inside the walls, there is not a hint of magic. This is the exact place of distortion that leads to another world. To find it, Jirya had to summon magic on the rats. Even his clairvoyance could not notice where the students disappeared. He managed to raise as many as 100,000 rats from the spot and comb the entire city in search of that single crack. He shows his companions the specific door, exactly where they should go. However, the space around the frame is barely not in place, a detail that Aldi honestly admits he would never have noticed himself. Jir explains, as soon as the rat touched that spot, the vision switched to a dimly lit cave. He is already ready to enter immediately, but Aldi orders to wait. The cat does not back down. It pulls them along and insistently demands that they enter together, and also reminds Jir that he is still a school principal. Jirai decisively cuts him off and says that Aldi's magic is suitable for support, not for a frontal assault. At these words, Jirai's gaze becomes cold and stern. He directly, without any ceremony, tells the principal that he will only get in the way. Aldi reluctantly takes on the necessary role, and Jir makes it clear that he does not want anyone to follow him. Suddenly, Eva grabs him by the coat. She does not let him go into danger alone. Eva swears she will not be an obstacle, and even asks to be left behind if she becomes a burden. About the size and Jerry's resignation, he says briefly, "Let her stay close near him." When Aldi tries again to insert his word, Jirey orders him to stay here and keep watch outside. After the division, Jir and Eva gathered and stepped across the threshold. They disappear into distortion, while Aldi watches from the cobblestone street. Stepping, they enter a cave shrouded in thick, eerie black smoke. But the cave is protected. A powerful barrier is active, and magic from outside cannot intervene inside. Jir immediately notices. The visual tether to the rats is the only thing still holding and not breaking. He gives Eva one last chance to turn back while it is still not grotesque. She tightly grips the staff and stubbornly refuses to retreat. The further they advanced, the more painful the horror became for Eva. The floor was strewn with the corpses of her classmates. The sight was truly, Iriso Jirya did not want her to go with them. The victims had their hearts ripped out and even the guard Aldi spoke of had now turned into a lump of flesh. Jirya recognizes the culprit from afar and immediately activates concealment magic. Just as Eva is about to rush into battle, Jir reminds her of the main thing. Simple healing magic cannot bring back those who are already dead. And then he admits he has a much stronger card resurrection. He explains, as long as their souls still linger in this world, he can bring them back. He tells Eva that the souls are about to disappear, and orders her to call to them while he deals with the killer himself. From afar, a hooded figure laughs maniacally. Eva agrees to stay behind and focus on the spirits. To protect her, Jir sets up an imperial barrier around this area. When he steps back, he admits to himself, the disappearance of the soul is a lie. He just needed her to be safe before the upcoming battle. He approaches the cloaked figure with deadly intent. One word and Dejiri delivers a devastating blow, as if wiping the killer off the face of the earth along with the ashes. He lowers his gaze to the remains and suddenly realizes there is almost no remorse for the punishment carried out. But in a second, the killer's voice thunders from there, from behind his back. The boy complains that he was having fun until Jir ruined the moment. He bites his thumb and, in a frenzy of rage, swears to kill Jirya for his insolence. Jir watches in shock. The boy stands here while his previous corpse still lies on the ground. The killer attributes his survival to his dear lord. He mocks Yura and claims that a simple person cannot comprehend the very idea of changing events. He laughs at the expressions on the students' faces as they died, insisting they deserved it because they resembled his former tormentors. Jir asks whether the victims of the serial killer were not only random people, but also those somehow involved in this revenge. The boy snorts disdainfully and replies, "Their deaths are nothing more than an accident born from his anger." Jirya intensifies his magic and demands, "Tell the true purpose of all this without hints or excuses." The killer, shining with joy, delays a moment and finally confesses. He was ordered to summon an evil god. He suddenly shouts to his master as a dark presence suddenly appears nearby. A giant shadow, extending a hand, emerges from the darkness and calls for prey the greed itself. A sadistic smile emerges from the black fog. The shadow retreats and Henry, the girl who disappeared during the tournament, steps into the light. She smiles at the maimed hero, mocking the fact that they had to meet again in such a desperate place. Jir had no idea that their reunion would happen right here. The healer tries to mend the lost arm, but Jir sharply warns, "Stay behind and focus on the students." Then he orders her to continuously call the children no matter what happens. Do not stop. Jeri realizes restorative magic is powerless here, and Henry finds this quite amusing. She explains that her predatory abilities do not allow healing any injuries she inflicts. She adds only a hero or someone with full power can stop her, and slyly draws out the question she raised black eyes. Suddenly, a young boy bursts through the door, running straight ahead, clutching a bowl of hearts to his chest, and calls out to the savior Gluttony. He wants to use them to summon the evil god just as Henry promised. The boy thanks her for the chance to take revenge, but she is already thinking of a completely different plan. With a cold smile, she tells the boy that he can die right now. She no longer has any need for him. The boy is paralyzed by betrayal, as if suddenly all the levers in his body were switched off. His role has already served its purpose. Henry watches as he dissolves into the shadows. Juri grimaced with disgust and muttered whether they were ever friends at all. Henry pushes the boy away, calling him an outsider, and says, without her intervention, he was too soft to kill anyone. She admits again she has eaten all his emotions, leaving only a deadly intent and a thirst for revenge. She also poured oil on the fire of his anger, asking, "Am I not kind?" Jurya orders her to be silent while he prepares to summon the evil god. She gives Jurya and the girl a chance to escape, but he does not even move. She asks if he is trying to save the students, and Jir is forced to apologize for his mistake. He tries to lie, saying that the children mean nothing and will soon be out of his life. And a clenched fist tells a completely different story. He admits her words wildly throw him off balance. His gaze becomes deadly serious. Henry mocks his own rage and wonders how he will even manage to fight. Jurya reaches out to cast a spell, but his power fails to manifest. Relapses repeatedly revealed the truth. She devoured his inner magic along with his hand. She savors his power like aged wine. She reveals the source of her might, countless demonic moths swimming in the darkness. She is a demon lord of gluttony, who holds the power of predation in her hands. Jurya freezes, realizing the current demon lord was not supposed to appear yet. She reveals the secret of her lineage. There are several demon lords in the world, and they are destined to devour each other to challenge the heroes. She orders him to hurry, insisting that without magic he is helpless. Vinky sends his mouse to finally finish him off. But your beam is not over yet. He pulls out the cursed black blade. Henry froze in shock, watching as her predatory prey was cut to pieces. She cannot believe that this sword is even capable of cutting through her authority. Jir says he found this blade several years ago. He cannot destroy it and cannot lose it, so he is forced to use it. With one swing, Jir sweeps the battlefield. Inria looks confused. Could it be that only the power of the wind can repel her mouse? She begins to doubt, is he even human at all? Then she bursts into hysterical laughter. Now everything comes together into a single picture. There is a natural logic in this. Power blocks itself with its own. She smiles and extends her hand to him, offering to teach him how to use his power. Jura attentively watches how she makes the last shocking revelation. He is not just a man, he is the demon lord of laziness. And suddenly another bomb drops, naming, this is what Jere's laziness turns out to be. She trembles with amazement. The person has a demonic mark, yet she still extends her hand and offers a truce. Her invitation without any hints, will you join Glutton? Jeri does not believe in her game. It is clear that she pretends to be sweet only because she is already backed into the ropes. Henry tries to sweeten the deal, promises him status, money, and life without any worries, absolutely unconditional. Jir admits that it sounds like a dream come true, but he is not going to be under anyone's command. I refuse, he cuts off coldly, and without the slightest chance for compromise. But as soon as Henry's presence begins to fade, Juri thinks, the fight is finally over. His magical detection finds nothing, so he prepares to heal his fallen allies. Suddenly, a hidden blade bursts out of the darkness and strikes directly at the target. And for the last time, she reworked her predatory ability to mask her presence for one doomed lunge. Jir throws himself directly under the attack, taking a bloody blow to the chest to protect Eva. He barely manages a weak smile, but the wound is deep. Eve rushes headlong to him, and in despair throws a high heal spell. The spell does not manage to close the wound, and she is overwhelmed with complete panic. Jerry spits out blood, and his life flows away like water through fingers. The world of Eve shatters, and her screams echo dully in the cave. The trauma triggers an avalanche of dark memories. She remembers every life lost because of her mere presence. When she failed to save those nearby, people called her a monster. Even her own parents turned away from her and did so out of fear. She sat in a cage while the guards mocked her and prowled, eager to drive her to death. They saw in her only a commodity, a thing to be sold to the highest bidder. Eve gave up, resigning herself to the thought that her life was shackled behind bars. For 4 years, she lived as a demon in someone else's eyes. She sat alone, turning over the same question in her mind, why she needed life at all. Her blessing became a curse as soon as someone tried to harm her. It immediately killed them. Having experienced betrayal and abandonment firsthand, Eve decided to trust no one anymore. She desired only one thing, the end of her torment. But this lasted until a new prisoner arrived. Knight in full armor was thrown right into her cell. He immediately began grumbling about the lack of blankets. To her shock, he curled up into a ball and fell asleep. When he woke up, she asked if this life seemed boring to him. He just shrugged and seemed to savor the very fact that the food was free for him. He assured that he would leave her alone, though only after answering one question. "Do you want to do something?" he asked. He laid out his own goal, to defeat the demon lord and become king. She even admitted she had no dreams left. That was enough for him, and he decided they would leave right now. Flashing with magic, he shattered the iron bars of their cage. He towered over everything, as if he had no doubt he would soon break the chains of her fate. "I will destroy this arena," he declared, and with that he forever crossed out her entire life. The knight cuts his way through the arena guards without any pause or doubt. The arena overseer recoils with trembling hands and involuntarily retreats, until he bursts back in fear, demanding to know what this monster wants. "I don't like the very thought of slavery," the knight replies coldly. The coward tries to justify himself with words, insisting that murder will change nothing in the world. "No, thank you," that's all he gets in response. One clean sweep, and the caretaker's life ends along with his work forever. When the territory is cleaned, at night the remains are left alone amid the carnage. He gathers the traumatized children and orders them to follow him. When asked if he is their savior, he brushes it off, saying it was purely a selfish act. He leads the whole group away from the pits and straight to a huge manor estate behind massive gates. He sincerely apologizes, saying the manor is too modest not to his taste. As soon as they barely have time to settle in properly, he immediately tells them there is work to be done. The legendary warrior hands them mops and orders them to start cleaning the dusty living room. The children can only silently stare and swallow their breath, not believing their new master. Months pass, and each night they are given food, shelter, and a proper education. Ive remains cautious. He is convinced that his kindness is just a mask for something darker. During the magical abilities exam, they find out that Eva has a rare talent for restorative magic. Since there is no textbook for this, the knight decides to train her personally. He hands her a dagger and orders her to practice how to heal her own wounds. Eva flinches and breaks the game, sharply refusing to obey. In her opinion, this is a cruel pastime. Suddenly, a fierce burst of dark magic erupts from her body. She waits for the knight to, trembling with horror, recoil from her monstrous nature. But he only grumbles that magic is sticky and disgusting. She freezes, unable to compose herself and process his usual reaction to her power. He puts her on a high heel and asks why she is breaking down. Tears roll down her face, and for the first time, someone can truly touch her. The knight still does not understand why it suddenly begins to sob. Usually its dark blessing kills everyone it touches instantly. She realizes this is the only person capable of lifting her curse. A crooked, hopeful smile creeps onto her face. Late that night, eerie laughter rolls through the corridors of the manor. Eve sneaks into the night office while he is distracted at the desk. He was caught off guard without a helmet and he twitches, hiding his face. He panics like a teenager, frantically trying to put the armor back on. He tells her that it is already time to sleep and orders her to leave immediately. Eve holds her ground and says she has a desperate request. He measures the night, getting used to it, so that she leaves because he doesn't need any more work. She begs him to listen. He is distracted by the glow he shows a pair of magical wind boots, just freshly made. He is crazy about his work, but looks more like a child than a warrior. When the excitement finally subsides, the knight exhales and finally asks what she came to ask for. Eva looks him straight in the eyes. "Please kill me," she whispers. She explains his immunity nullifies her curse, so only he can do it. The knight is confused and asks why he should kill her at all. He breaks her logic and suddenly realizes, for her, her own immortality and power are not a gift, but a burden. Without hesitating for a second, he answers her with a dry refusal. He says there is no benefit for him in this, so he will not do it. He sends her away, curtly ordering, time to go to bed. "Stop fooling around," he cuts off, demanding that she get dressed and leave. He tells her directly. He does not know her past, but it is already time for her to start valuing herself. There is no reason to die or be stuck forever in the past. He paints a picture of a world where there are incredible landscapes and delicious food, the kind she has not yet tasted. She asks him to stop acting as if he understands her pain. Ray remains harsh. He insists that he only cares about himself, and he does not care about those who cannot love themselves. He does not hide his disgust for people who have completely given up on life. When she insists that her sister died because of a cursed blessing, he brushes it off, saying it is just an excuse to escape responsibility. "Everything is possible as long as you are alive," he says, and extends an offer of the future. She freezes in shock and tries to understand what she even has left to do. He says he does not care whether she lives or dies, because this choice is only hers. He is annoyed that instead of taking her own position, she shifts everything onto others just to end her life. The girl finally breaks down. She screams about the torment she has endured. She tells how her own family abandoned her, and how everyone she once trusted betrayed her. Through tears, she admits she always just wanted to live a happy life. She clenches her fists, mourning the ordinary life she was never allowed to have. Ray says that her emotional outburst is proof. In reality, she does not want to die. She insists that the world made her understand she has no place to exist, but Ray refuses to believe it. He asks her the one and only question that truly matters: what does she really want to do? She has no answer, but he assures her there is still more than enough time to find it. When Ray worries that her blessing might harm others, Ray offers a simple solution: just heal them. The idea leaves her completely speechless. Since she has a talent for restorative magic, he says, she has no choice, she will have to master it. He urges her not to give up, even before she has properly tried to cope with her power. He talks about spirit contracts and legendary artifacts like Yggdrasil as possible ways to tame her curse, and adds a warning: making a spirit contract is dangerous and requires colossal magical power. Despite the danger, she nods to him confidently and decisively. Ray immediately shifts into the role of mentor, promises a merciless training course and bitter magic enhancers. She sharply turns her gaze to him, and at that moment uncertainty suddenly breaks out. She asks if he trains them only to later sell them as slaves at a high price. He clarifies they are no longer slaves, so he does not intend to sell anyone. She touches the heavy collar that still embraces her neck, doubting the freedom that was supposedly promised to her. Ray admits if he released them without any skills, he would feel guilty because then they would not be able to survive. He says his plan was simple from the start: first give them education and only then release them. He decides tomorrow is the day when he will remove the collars forever. She asks why he makes such sacrifices for them. He says he does it for his own satisfaction, because he simply hates slave traders. When she asks why he hides in armor and why he so carefully conceals his name, he suddenly becomes shy. Eventually he gives in and says his name is Ray. After that he notes that she, on her part, should also politely introduce herself the same way. Well, she quietly lowers her gaze and sadly realizes, after so much time in captivity, she has forgotten her own name. Since the past is already gone, he suggests she choose a completely new name for herself. He says she can always change her mind later if she finds something she likes better. For now, he advises the simplest option, Eve. She pouts offendedly because she thinks the name is a bit too simple. Ray asks her to come up with something herself, since that one doesn't suit him, and adds that it's already time to go to sleep. He pushes her out of the room and briefly reminds her, training starts at dawn. She buries herself in bed and, whispering her own name to herself again and again, waits for it to stop slipping and finally stick. She falls asleep, and a genuine, warm smile lights up her face. The moon hangs high above the estate, until the girl finally snatches a moment of silence for herself. Ray restrains his word. He heals the terrible burns and wounds of the captives, and then without hesitation breaks their slave collars. Although they are free to go anywhere, the group decides to stay close to the man who saved them. Eva begins intense training in restorative magic, thoroughly preparing herself for the burden of the spiritual contract. Ray supervises strictly and demanding not weakening for a step. But Eva is truly happy because he is the only one who never left her alone. During the morning training session, Ray appears late as always, yawning on the go. Suddenly, a young boy jumps out from around the corner and demands to know why Ray favors Eva so much. He points at Eva with a trembling finger and calls her a cursed demon one who will bring doom to anyone nearby. Ray exhales a tired sigh and says that her power is a blessing. She will not kill anyone just because someone is nearby. To prove this, he reaches out and grabs Eva by the face. He playfully squeezes and stretches her cheeks, while the rest of the children freeze in shock and watch silently. "Listen, I'm not dead, right?" He clarifies. Her blessing only works when someone tries to physically harm her. His voice becomes icy when he asks the boy if he intended to hit or push her, just like their former masters once did to them. The boy, seized by his own guilt, suddenly buckles at the knees and he begs for forgiveness. He does not cry. He only says that he is the worst because he almost repeated the cycle of violence. Other children join in also begging forgiveness for avoiding Eva out of fear. Eva can hardly believe her ears until the wall between her and the others finally crumbles to dust. Ray did not waste a minute. He ordered the group to accompany Eva and help her practice restorative spells. While the training continues, Eva suddenly feels strange. Her heart is pounding wildly, and it does not stop from the very moment Ray touched her earlier. Ray moves closer and, noticing Eva's bright red face, decides that she has caught a cold. He decides to end the session early to go loafing, leaving Eva standing confused in the yard. She watches him tear away and involuntarily thinks, maybe she really is sick. She suddenly realizes she wanted to spend much more time with him. "I am thinking about Ray. The heart just cannot stop pounding." In the following days, Eva's magic blossoms, and finally she finds friends. Tiz's friend decides that it's time to change something, so she gives Eva a mirror. Tiz addressed Eva in an incredibly cute, ruffled outfit, and was absolutely sure that their teacher would definitely say, "Ah," because of it. She almost forcibly pushes Eva out the door, urging, "Let her go shopping with Ray alone." Eva nervously twitches and has no idea if it is really as cute as she was promised. Ray knocks on the door and dryly asks if she is finally ready. Tiz tears the door wide open and shows Eva, immediately addressing Ray, as if to say, is he already ready to fall in love? Ray stares blankly ahead before quoting an old saying, "Fine feathers make a fine bird." He tells her that everyone looks good if they dress well, and then directly, without ceremony, commands, "Take this off and get ready, we're going out." Eva's face twitches with a grimace of pure irritation, despite her assuring that she is not angry. Ray ignores the tension and urges faster, "Meet him outside." They enter the city in their usual attire, and it suits Ray perfectly. He is not in the mood for goodbyes. He is already going crazy with excitement over the discounted ticket for magic tools. He shows Eva a simple tool for practicing magical manipulations and offers it to her as a gift. Then he orders her to try it. When she struggles to channel her power, Ray reaches from the side and guides her hands. The sudden closeness again makes Eva's heart race wildly. Ray complains that he is at such a high level that he never has a chance to properly talk about his passion for tools. Eva realizes, if she masters these tools, then maybe she can finally make Ray happy. Ray finishes the shopping trip, dragging behind him a mountain of supplies. Eva looks at him gently and smiles, thinking that he behaves exactly like a child. Suddenly, Ray jerks the entire load, and his valuable tools scatter across the cobblestones. He shudders with annoyance, groans, and regrets that he never used the magic item box. Eva bursts out laughing, and Ray throws out, "Her face is not that bad, at least when she really smiles." Eva freezes, and her heart skips a beat as soon as she asks if he likes her face. "No, not interesting," Ray replies instantly, crushing her hopes. Eva suddenly clearly understands how little she really knows about this eccentric man. Despite his harshness, she catches herself thinking that she hopes those quiet days will last forever. A drop of rain hits her head, but the sky darkens not because of a storm. From a dark crack in the clouds emerges a huge, terrifying black dragon. It looms over the city like a harbinger of death. Suddenly, a shadow of the dragon falls over the city. Everyone, holding their breath, freezes in fear and only trembles without any movement. A dragon? Why is it here? The knights panic and bustle, trying to evacuate the townspeople, but the city's protective barriers do not activate. Ray orders Eva to return home immediately and insists that she will be safe within her own walls. But as soon as the crowd parts and scatters, Eva suddenly sees Ray is heading straight into the heart of the storm. He throws over his shoulder to her, "I just forgot something," and then cuts off the order. She must get out of there. Eva runs away, but suddenly a heavy, oppressive anxiety grips her chest. And instantly she is overwhelmed with realization. Ray did not say this, he never promised that he wouldn't fight. Ray rises into the sky and rushes head-on. He is caught up by a colossal black dragon. He drives the blade into the beast's scales with terrifying force. The dragon responds with a strike, but Ray takes it on himself and stubbornly keeps moving forward, shouting, "Damn it!" A giant explosion of mana shakes the city as Ray lands and delivers a devastating blow. The townspeople cannot believe their eyes. A single man matches the power of the dragon. Eva watches the slaughter from afar, and her voice breaks with trembling notes as she cries, "Why? Why?" Ray is battered by a hail of blows, his armor half torn apart, but he stubbornly does not retreat an inch. He towers over the defeated beast, gasping for air convulsively, while Eva rushes to him. Holiday is interrupted by a sound that chills her entire body. Two more dragons emerge from the clouds and begin circling above the exhausted warrior. Ray on the edge disdainfully snorts in the face of impossible chances and mutters, "What a damn pain in the ass." The knight begs him to retreat and patch up his wounds, but Ray snaps, "Don't stand in my way." He decides his fate himself, limps forward, straight into the jaws of inevitable death. Ray reveals his true dream bluntly, "I'm a man who will become a hero." He knows well, he lacks the sacred mark that distinguishes a true hero. So he decides, if you want to be a hero, be one through your actions. He chooses to stand stronger than everyone to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Ray feeds the twin dragons with all the crumbs of strength he still has left. He's not going to run away, rushes forward after the ideal of the perfect hero of fairy tales, whom he sincerely admires. At this moment, his courage flares brighter than any legend ever told. Despite everything, the dragons fall and the crowd freezes in stunned silence. Eva hoarsely shouts his name and rushes headlong straight into the heart of the destruction. And suddenly she sinks to the ground, and a dark aura begins to seep from her body. She remembers Ray's warning. The power of blessings is not absolute and can vanish in an instant. Her near immortality fades, so now she is completely defenseless. One of the fallen dragons opens a vengeful eye and charges the last desperate explosion. Eva freezes in horror. Death looks her straight in the face. The shadow glides through the smoke and intercepts the deadly attack. Ray becomes a living shield, takes the full blast of the explosion to save her. The beast finally dies, and Ray sinks onto the cold stone floor. Eva stares in horror at the man who gave everything he had for her. Ray gives her a faint last smile through tears. "It's my fault." The mage's saving restorative magic cannot take hold, and Ray's life slips away like water through fingers. He looks at her, and in his gaze there is silence. He did all he could. Eva begs him not to go, sobbing and shouting that their training is not over yet. Since that day, Ray never opened his eyes again. Weeks pass, and Eva still remains an empty shell, locked in her room. After the visit and the memorial tribute, he no longer had any idea whether their teacher was cold to them on purpose. She understands. He wanted them to become independent because he knew he would not be by their side forever. When Tease recalls Eva's love for Ray, the truth finally hits Eva as if it were a physical blow. She breaks down into a hoarse sob and finally admits, "I loved Ray, I loved you." Eva still remembers the day she became the best student at Magic Academy. A whole year has passed since her beloved Ray died in battle. The city is preparing for a festival in his honor. Everyone will wear red hair to honor the fallen hero. Eva holds tickets to the exhibition of an ancient artifact, a rare victory against impossible odds. Despite all her successes, she still has not found that one thing without which she lacks strength. She swears to use the power of Yggdrasil to bring Ray back to the land of the living. "Wait for me," she whispers, stepping away from the place where he last rested. Under the weight of grief, she mastered restorative magic, and by the age of 14 completed her studies, becoming the #1 student. To gain the power she desires, she made a contract with a mighty water spirito to strengthen her own might. The ritual dyed her hair blue and took away her ability to express any emotions. Eventually, she joined the hero-ready party and rummaged through every secret text searching for the key to resurrection. During her journey, she came across a man who turned everything upside down. Ray was so incredibly similar to Ray that Eve dressed him in identical armor just to feel closer to her lost love. When Ray rushed into battle alone, Eve felt the nightmare of the past repeating itself. Returning to the present, Eva weeps over Ray's lifeless body and blames herself for his death. "Sorry, if only I hadn't followed you." She cries, and her heart breaks again from the pain. Suddenly, dazzling light bursts from Ray's chest. The genre catches and starts coughing, completely bewildered by its sudden return to life. Eve cannot believe her eyes. The man she thought was dead is breathing again. Ray slowly rewinds the duel with Henry in his memory, and the single moment when his life faded tightens his throat again. He scans the area with his gaze, as if checking every corner, and still there is no trace of Henry anymore. Ray notices a precious coin on the ground and brushes off his own death, as if it were a minor inconvenience that can be swept away. Eva demands an answer as to why he is still alive. "Don't worry, I'm not some kind of ghost," he says, waving his hand completely carelessly. He says he prepared a unique spell. After death, it triggers only one resurrection. The process is exhausting several days of fasting and intense concentration for the spell to restore itself. He admits that he invented this magic himself when he was only 9 years old. This measurable resurrection controls space-time itself, rolling his body back to a healthy state. But the price turns out to be too steep. Standard restorative magic no longer works. He is capable of causing random teleportations and severe memory loss after activation. Eva freezes in horror as soon as she comes to the thought. This is far from the first death he has experienced. In the heat of a furious battle with the dragon Jinrei, he involuntarily recalls what happened earlier. He remembers how 4 years ago Aldi chased him in the Manga area, and how he then defeated one dragon even before 2 others appeared to finish him off. In Eva's head, thoughts race wildly as details of Rei's deathmatch flash. Jinrei tells his story flawlessly. She asks in despair if he was in armor during that fatal encounter. Jinrei says yes, and recalls a nameless gray-haired girl he once trained and gave a name to. He is stunned. Eva knows such intimate details about his past. Tears of pure joy stream down Eva's cheek as the truth finally dawns on her. While the heat of the moment has not yet faded, Eva throws out into the space. There is someone she truly likes. She does not let a single moment pass, sharing her heart each time without hesitation. "I love you," she says, not looking away and staring him straight in the eyes. She confesses, despite his rough character, he is the kindest person she has ever known. Tears in her eyes and a smile on her lips, Eva is just about to ask the last question. "Will you go with me?" Finally, she finds the courage and asks. At the Hero Birthday Festival today is Hero's Day, and Rei is eager to get lost among the display of ancient artifacts. He immediately rushes to the demonstration of magical instruments, but for a deep immersion in arcana, he won't have to be alone. But suddenly Eva drops a bomb and without hiding admits she wants to be with him forever. He asks her for a little break, but his coldness only makes her grimace and pout. Eva's mood changes instantly as soon as she asks, "Am I bothering you?" Despite Rei's explanation that his previous actions were entirely spontaneous, Eva does not engage with any logic. She knows that he is actually a person named Jayari, but she is not interested in his secret identity. For her, Rei is a special nickname that makes her feel closer to him than anyone else. Inside himself, Rei slaps his own head. He should have been much tougher when he first refused her. Only a week ago, Rei actually died, covering Eva from the last, ultimately desperate strike of Henry. He was brought back to life, thanks to dimensional resurrection, just after they defeated the demon named Gluttony. After the battle, Rei used hypnosis to erase the traumatic memories of the rescued academy students. Then he spent several days alone in an inn courtyard, casting a resurrection spell on himself and fully recovering. And now, when everything is already behind, he has to resist and bite into Eva's tireless mode of love. She insists, if 4 years ago he told her to do whatever she wanted, then she is fully within her rights to pursue him. Rei insists there is zero intention of a relationship, but Eva has already done her homework. Does it work? She only says she wants to be near and subtly hints there is a huge benefit if she stays. She knows exactly how to get to him, and recalling her huge collection of magical tools pulls him along. Rei is confused until Eva reveals how extensive her influence really is. She is the adopted daughter of the man who owns this entire artifact exhibition, so from now on everything in the room belongs to her. Rei is stunned. As soon as she handed him the tickets, he didn't even suspect that she was hiding them. She proposes a deal. If he stays with her, he can take as many rare magical instruments as he wants, even a whole mountain, as much as he desires. Rei tries to resist the bribe, but his fascination with artifacts makes his body react against his will. He gets absorbed in the magical equipment, and Eva knows their shared passion will become the perfect hook. She offers a compromise. She asks for only 1 day of his time each week. Rei grumbles that it sounds more like a labor contract than a date, so he clarifies, is it really only for 1 day? But as soon as he looked at the list of requests, his jaw nearly dropped. There is a list of intimate demands, and at the very bottom a mysterious section painted over in black. Eva blushes wildly, hinting that the hidden part is about how she will marry him and do everything possible to be a good wife. Rei immediately pretends as if this whole conversation never happened. Eva does not give up. She vows to make him fall in love with her, because he doesn't have a girlfriend yet. And Rei screams in despair that he can't do that, and with a roar like a whirlwind, he rushes away, leaving the contract torn to pieces. His day is wasted, and he bitterly complains that he didn't even have time to properly enjoy the exhibition. As they move on, Ray notices a young boy he ended up right in the epicenter of the gluttony incident. Thanks to Ray's hypnosis, the boy's hatred disappeared and he became an ordinary boy again. Ray watches him from afar, not even suspecting whether this boy is just an easy target for demons. He decides to approach the frightened child. Ray shocks the boy by handing him a bag of elite sweets from a famous store. He says he doesn't like sweets and orders the boy to take them all for himself. Ray encourages him to share the treats with other children and try to make friends. He turns to leave and says to the boy, "It's up to you, eat them or throw them away." The boy shouts, "Thank you, Oji-san." And this throws Ray into a minor midlife crisis just as he stubbornly starts to prove that he is still a young man. Ray watches, suppressing a barely noticeable smile, until the boy finally approaches the other children. Eva catches that moment of genuine kindness and realizes she is falling for him even more. She presses again to meet, and Ray remains trapped in a romantic nightmare that never ends. Jairi disappeared for a moment and left behind a scream that echoed for a long time in the empty room. He clings with his claws to the ceiling and listens as the princess lays out plans to use him in the upcoming battle for the throne. He bounces back at a distance and notices a headline about a miracle performed by the hero Ray. Even when he tried to cover his tracks, the memory of the red-haired savior was etched into the soul of the people. He has his natural black hair again, but cannot understand how Alina managed to track him. He decides to flee the country, but a brilliant magical instrument on the ground suddenly stops him dead, as if rooted. It's a trap. Eva lunges at him the moment he reaches out to her. She mocks him, saying how easy it was to lure him with such an obvious bait. She did not act alone. Everything was coordinated with a hero who was supposed to carry out this ambush. Reddy appears with a contract in hand and demands that her former teacher immediately join her party. These two were seriously frightened. They formed a sinister alliance to corner him. Suddenly, a voice commands the girls to retreat while Jirai's body begins to move against his will. A mysterious figure in a hood pulls him into a hidden corridor, urging, "Follow him." She leads him into a room fortified with soundproof shields and concealment charms. She gives him a calming smile and says that now they are safe. Exhausted Jairi collapsed onto the bed and finally caught his breath. But suddenly, a cold realization sinks in as the girl looms over him. She activates a transformational magical weapon. The camouflage flickers and disappears. This is Raffin, and she is fed up with being constantly ignored. She pins him to the ground and accuses him of never coming to her. The shock is enough to finally break his hesitation. He casts a desperate teleportation spell, trying to slip out of the room before the escalation goes further. He lands hard in the middle of the forest, and the balance finally shatters. Before he can get to his feet, Kane finds him. A knight does not seek a fight. He needs guidance to reach the next level of sword mastery. The assassin's blade whistles through the air, but Jir intercepts it skillfully and without unnecessary movements. He immediately realized he is being targeted, so he orders the attacker to show himself. Lena emerges from the thickets and without hesitation admits she was hunting him. She is seized by the desire for power, and she looks at him as the ultimate test. Lena insists that only he is strong enough to withstand her full destructive rage. Her face darkens and twists as soon as she finally realizes here he is her rival. "I will kill you," she whispers, and the burning fury heats up to a fever. Without saying another word, she disappears back into the shadow. Jirai does not give himself even a second to hesitate and bursts into a sprint. He cannot believe that his attempt to lead a quiet life has turned into complete chaos. Kane does not allow himself to fall behind, and even the academy leader sides with him in the chase. The director wants him to be a teacher as soon as Alina notices him from afar. Reddy and Eva literally keep on his heels, not letting the prey slip away again. Even Raffin catches up and is still shouting about their wedding, which is about to happen any moment now. Jairi only wanted to avoid trouble and live in luxury, but now he is a D-class adventurer chased by a whole army of powerful women. He finally reaches the limit and screams out of pure despair. He just wants to lie down, but the world has completely different plans for him. During his desperate escape, a terrifying mark suddenly flashes on his forehead, a warning about dangerous changes that have just occurred. Jirai basks in the morning sun and thinks he can finally rest a little. He dives back into the sheets, convinced that doing absolutely nothing is the pinnacle of bliss. But this thing doesn't last long as soon as he feels something moving under the blanket. He almost breaks the ceiling from shock, unable to believe what he sees. In front of him stands Enri, a woman who is supposed to be considered dead. Her appearance is frightening until she explains. A fragment of her soul now resides in him. She warns, this new power will prove extremely necessary for what is to come. Jir suddenly wakes up and immediately understands. It was all just a vivid nightmare. But suddenly he sees, The real Raffin has stealthily climbed into his bed again. For several days, Jir has been running away, but these girls manage to find him every time, no matter where he hides. While Raffin sleeps peacefully, Jir cannot shake the feeling that his reality is slowly becoming as strange as his dreams. He tries to wash away the fatigue, but the reflection in the mirror shows something truly terrible. A mysterious black mark appears on his forehead, a sticky, lingering memory of their meeting with Henry. Suddenly, a dark, intelligent shadow snatches from the air, and without blinking, demands food. Jarrett throws an apple, and the shadow immediately reveals a row of fanged teeth to swallow it whole. This is the same predatory ability, and everything repeats again. Jir realizes in horror that he is beginning to notice a pattern. Despite its creepiness, the shadow is incredibly versatile. It works like a third limb, able to reach everything in the room. And it even shocks. Now he can summon the legendary black sword from the item box with just a thought. As soon as Jir realizes that he is being demanded answers, he sees only one way to go: straight to the magical library. There he looks for Aldi, the eccentric cat principal of the academy, and hopes that he will agree to help. Jurai tries to keep steady, calm face, confident walk, because, in his opinion, the director will grant access without much trouble. Aldi is a true master of intrigue. He leads Jir to think that help is possible, but whether it will come to a definite yes is a completely different story. After a few tense moments, the cat brushes it off with laughter and promises permission, saying, "After all, they are such good friends." Aldi even goes so far as to arrange a separate carriage for the journey to rival Hello. And Jurai is genuinely touched. He thinks that the chief is at least once in his life a normal person. His gratitude instantly disappears as magical ropes suddenly spring out and bind him tightly. Aldi barely smiles and proclaims to the whole room that he has managed to capture Jir. Even her companion looked satisfied. The cat had managed to fulfill his part of the deal. Jerry sits there in shocked stupor, completely motionless, and at the mercy of his comrades. He tries to break free, but Aldi immediately shows. These are not ordinary ropes. This is an ancient magical artifact, one of only 3 in the world. It makes escape impossible. Chained and with no chance to break free, Jerry is thrown into a carriage that takes off into the sky, and it flies straight to their destination. Inside, the disguised Raffin wastes no time. She settles in as if at home and slips a shoulder pillow under Jurai's head to ease his fatigue. Eva resists but still tries to feed him homemade bento from her hand while they fly through the clouds. The younger girl stares enchanted at the landscape and does not notice the romantic rope banner unfolding nearby. Jurai begs them to untie him, but Eva refuses. She knows that as soon as Jurai is free, he will immediately try to escape. It becomes awkwardly uncomfortable as soon as Jurai says he needs a bathroom break, and Eva immediately pulls out a bottle of wine as a solution. She even offers not to look while he does his business, and this terrifies him completely. Raffin explains. She dresses up to cross borders right after Aldi sent her a magical letter. Outside, Aldi fusses like in a fairy tale. He pilots the flying carriage and revels in the chaos he himself stirred up. Jir can only sigh and pretend. In his head, there is only one thought: how his life came to such a mess. The 2 girls immediately start arguing, and Eva orders the princess to step back. Raffin does not back down, boldly declares that she and Jurai are mutually in love. They burst right into Yura's face and demand, "Say, which one of us do you love more?" Later, the tension subsides, and Raffin says she wants to fight on equal terms and become friends. She admits, as a princess, she actually never had real friends from the very beginning. Eva is touched by her confession and officially accepts her words, agreeing to give up respectful forms of address. And they even start planning a shopping trip for when they land, so Jura can only guess if they really are getting along now. When the city rival Hello finally emerges before them, the group prepares to descend. Jir surveys the vast surroundings and realizes, wherever he goes, he cannot escape their control. The guard insists. The special zone housing the magical library is strictly forbidden to enter. Aldi tries to act older, claiming she obtained permission in advance. But the guard explains. The anti-hero faction is storming the reconstruction zone continuously, so they cannot guarantee safety for an adventurer like Jura. Rival Hilo is a nation under imperial heel, kept in worship of heroes. Beast folk live here. They still bear scars from the demonic attack that happened several years ago. Many locals harbor an ancient grudge. The heroes were late and failed to save their families. Retinoa is admitted as the hero of the attack, while Jurai prepares to part ways and forge his own path forward. Ritaniwa is desperate at the thought of being separated from her teacher, and Aldi orders both of them to retreat and lets the professional take over the negotiations. The cat performs its cutest act and looks pleadingly at the guard with shining eyes. The guard is about to break, but a cold, authoritative voice orders her to stop. A man named Lucas steps forward, and the very air seems to compress as if he were not there. Jir can tell immediately, this guy is bad news, just by the way he carries himself. Despite having ears like an animal, his features are human. This reveals him as a half-beast nobleman. He ignores the guard's protests and takes control of the gate. No, I say. He repeats his words and his gaze is full of contempt. He calls himself a talent hero and orders this group to get out from under his watch. He demands that they get lost until he loses patience. Jirai does not flinch and only remarks, a hero cannot command like that. His companion takes his side, but Lucas only snorts, saying it is a natural law the weak must obey the strong. Jor clenches his fist as the tension reaches its breaking point. Behind him stretches the usual silence, and from it comes a trembling that tightens his coat. Lucas does not stop. He continues to call Jir a worthless bastard and orders Retinwa to take him away. The girl is clearly petrified with fear. Jirai's blood almost boils. Lucas tries to silence her with a single look, but Jir has already heard enough. Don't open your mouth at a noise. Jirai sharply clicks and stands between them. Lucas perceives this as a direct attack against his royal status as Prince Fort Independence. Jirai contemptuously apologizes and says he did not realize how important this person he is talking to turned out to be. He challenges the prince's logic, saying if the stronger rules, then Lucas must obey him. He places a calming hand on Retinoa's head and assures her, everything will be fine. Even if she trembles with fear, Jir is not going to let her go. He decides that it is time to show in practice who is really at the top of the food chain. I am better than you, stronger, Jirai declares with absolute confidence. Lucas responds with twisted, self-assured smiles. He reaches for his weapon predatory to smash that commoner in one blow. But the fight is interrupted by a huge werewolf named Wisdom. He rushes headlong to immediately check on his master. Lucas orders his subordinate to stay behind while he himself deals with this D-rank trash. Suddenly, Aldi recognizes the Beastman and involuntarily tightens his heart. He has already seen this giant warrior. It turns out Aldi and Wisdom were once close friends. They studied magic together. Wisdom serves as vice-commander for Lucas Prince, who united 10 countries on the continent of Vestia. He is convinced everything must change so that people have time to adapt to the times. Jiraiya's companion steps forward with a proposal. If Jiraiya wins the duel, they will enter the country. Lucas agrees but sets a condition. Jiraiya must be her permanent guardian. She categorically refuses and says directly that she does not want to be a burden, instead relying on Jir for protection. She has worked so hard to get here, and now will not allow herself to be sidelined. Lucas raises the stakes and challenges her. He wants an individual record, then let Wisdom win. She agrees without hesitation, insisting that she is much stronger than she seems. Even Evie, the white mage, steps forward, joins the clash, and does not let herself fall behind. Everyone officially accepts the terms, while Jir watches from the side in panic. This is a full-scale war between the attack hero party and the talent hero party. Princess Raphane smiles incessantly as she prepares for the first match. She promised Jirai she will do everything in her power. Jiraiya brushes it off, but in this situation the truth weighs heavily because right now they are preparing to face the talent hero party. Kid explains that he cast a spell so that no one actually dies, yet Jirai still looks uncertain and tense. Even if they cannot die, the trauma from the feeling of being killed still remains in memory. Meanwhile, Eva is focused on preparing the staff, and Reddy sits aside looking completely exhausted. Reddy is clearly going through very hard times. Jiraiya notices that she is already completely out of herself until the match preparation is nearing completion. Kit steps onto the field as the referee and announces, any magic or weapons, no rules, everything is allowed. Raphane asks if it is allowed to use magic to force surrender, and as soon as she gets the green light, she is immediately ready to jump into battle. Mudrists, the wolf beastman, and she too, without hesitation, is ready for the clash. The magic sphere reacted, clicked, activated, and the combat spell went into action. This is a fight between the attack party and the talent party, and the team command is given. Start. The sphere rises into the sky, unfolding a localized dimension for the fighters. Kit takes out the projection device, so Jeremy can see how everything is happening right now, live. They were thrown into dense thickets, and Jeremy involuntarily realizes, for Raphane this will be a big defeat. Vovkobstfoki feel at home here, but Raphane herself does not hesitate for a second. She immediately breaks the silence with an exclamation. Stop. Her magic works instantly. It stops him in place like an ice clamp and roots Wisdom in his steps. She explains calmly. As long as her magic is active, he will not be able to do anything and politely asks him to surrender. Wisdom is not one to surrender. He is a member of Adolf Knights and their code demands victory even if it means losing limbs. For him, defeat is something that can only be accepted by death. He does not dare to order her. If she wants him to stop, let her give him the order to commit seppuku. Raffen trembles noticeably after all. She is a good princess who probably has never had to take someone's life. Jurai watches attentively from outside and sees how naive hope for a clean capitulation crashes into the unwavering determination of a warrior. 5 minutes pass, and an overly oppressive, hopeless silence tightens the throat until the mind dares to intervene and finally voices a request. Raffen resists, holds on to the end, and refuses to give the order for his death. Wisdom understands that nothing can be done anymore, and finally makes his move. He lunges forward with terrible speed and appears right behind her. "Then I'll have to make you," he growls and abruptly lifts her up. Claws press into her throat, and Jurya instinctively lunges forward to pull her out of trouble. But the cat stops him and sharply emphasizes, interference during the match is forbidden. Raffen activates his word magic again, shouting for him to stay away, but in vain, because everything immediately falls apart and crumbles. Wisdom throws back an answer at him. He has been taking measures against her magic all this time. It turns out Wisdom specializes in anti-magic research and can nullify her spell within 5 minutes. Jairi thinks it's all over and is struck by the thought. This defeat will leave an unhealable scar on her forever. And the cat smiles and asks if Yer knows the true nature of word magic. Jur admits Raffany has not yet reached that level. Wisdom demands a rematch without the desire to cause her extra pain. And Raffine thinks about Jir and the role he wants to play beside him. She screams that she will not become a burden and stubbornly refuses to give up. Wisdom sighs, decided to put an end to this as painlessly as possible. He delivers a decisive blow with his razor-sharp claws. Raffin kneels down, but she does not pray. She hums, "I am strong." She repeats the words again and again, like a mantra, and insists that she is much stronger than him. She already imagines becoming faster and more powerful. Wisdom lowers his hand with lethal intent. He decides that the end has come as soon as he strikes and touches the target. The claws sink into her neck with all their might. But instead of tearing flesh and drawing blood, the beastman's claws crumble into fragments. Jurai was stunned. She realized that she had reached a state of self-physical enhancement thanks to the essence of verbal magic. Wisdom cannot believe his own eyes when he sees his broken nails. Turning her own conviction into pure force, Raffen looks him straight in the eyes. She commands, "Surrender." Finally, the table is overturned. Raffen stands his ground and demands full capitulation from his beastly opponent. The wolfman does not retreat even after just losing a nail. He lunges forward with a fierce grip. Raffen intercepts the bite with bare hands. Looking him straight in the eyes, she declares, "I am stronger than you." Before he can recover, Raffen disappears with impossible speed, teasing him that she is faster. She takes advantage of his confusion, falls from the trees with a heavy blow, causing him to lose grip and fall to the ground. Yet standing over him, Raffen begs him to surrender once more, but he remains proud and insists that yielding to a little girl is impossible. With cold determination, she presses her clawed weapon to his throat and asks if it is really impossible. Tears gather in her eyes. The weight of this moment hits her mercilessly. With the finale, "I'm sorry," she delivers the final blow and ends the duel with splashes of blood. The victor is officially declared princess, and the wolfman Xenon disappears in complete shock, clutching his throat. To Isaac static in praise of her incredible performance of verbal magic. The losses from the battle are already visible, and the embarrassed Raffin asks for a moment to rest. Djir approaches her and admits, even if the dead on this field come back to life, the trauma from killing someone yourself still remains very real. He asks why she pushed herself so hard, and she admits, it was a test of the limits of her magical theory. Raffen breathes a sigh of relief. She did not give up, and she understands that word magic is fueled exclusively by the user's own belief. Watching her, Dzuria concludes, her determination has grown to the point that she decided to stay by his side forever. As soon as Eva finally appears for her own match, the mood seems to switch. She apologizes for being late. Djir notices that Raffen is still a bit pale, but she quickly hides her pain behind a feverish smile and insists she is doing great. Eva is less confident in herself. Although she was the best student in written exams, she always came last in practical tasks. Suddenly, Xenon returns, dragging behind him a slender girl in a cap who mercilessly mocks him for losing to a girl. This newcomer, Maya, is Eva's next opponent, and from her appearance it is clear. She does not take her duties in the heroine party with enthusiasm at all. Maya spat Eve and immediately points a finger, loudly shouting her name upon recognizing her. She is burning with rage, eager to take revenge and prove who among them is truly the stronger mage. That one whispers to Jurai that they studied at the same academy, so this is a real classic rivalry. The tension rises as Maya waits for an answer when Eva tilts her head and asks, "Who are you?" Maya completely breaks down and in panic reminds Eva they were supposed to be friends and talk all the time. She even says her full name, Maya Katsavalida, hoping it will trigger a memory. Eva gives a brief, direct apology. Back then she had no time for friends, and now she simply does not remember. Jir can only silently watch as Eva mercilessly suppresses him. The official duel between the two white mages ends. Jurai expects a long, exhausting endurance and healing fight, but Maya immediately shatters these expectations, flying in with a brutal high kick to Eva's face. Maya is not a traditional healer. She can fight barehanded and without ceremony take down master fencers. And that's not all. They say she is a true mistress, so before us is a high-class all-rounder. Maya pressures Eva, forcing her to stop, and it's not just about defense, but really giving a counterattack. She admits her motivation was born from an unbearable defeat against Eva during enrollment, a memory that still boils with rage. She bursts into tears, angry at how clearly she remembered Eva. But Eva, it seems, has been completely forgotten. Eva barely murmurs, blinking with memories of the past, that demon girl who absorbed life with her blessing. She clearly understands. One treatment is not enough to protect what she truly cherishes. As soon as the powerful aura begins to swirl around her, Maya freezes. Shock cuts her from within. Having gained determination to fight from her, Eva activates magical expansion. She unfolds a water sickle, a deadly blend of elemental magic, and her unique blessing. Eva thanks heaven for her transformation and refuses to repeat the mistakes of her past. Maya mocks the clumsy weapon, but Eva has already made a firm decision to protect those dear to her. She presses forward, resolutely determined to become stronger while Maya prepares to strike. The scythe passes through Maya's hand, and suddenly it becomes eerily quiet around. She freezes, confused. Maya tries to pull herself up onto high heels, but her hand remains a charred, unhealed stump. She panics every time. The wound begins to corrode even deeper. Ray understands. During her blessing, Eva also deliberately provokes excessive healing. The axe does not cut the flesh, it floods the target with so much healing magic that biological collapse occurs. Ray recalls and contemplates Eva's exhausting training at the academy. Every day she pushed herself to the limit, fueled by a goal only she knew. Ray admits, even without him, she never stopped training. Broken Maya seems to give up and drowns in a stream of disappointed tears. She tries to invent excuses for her defeat, but Eva's sincere apologetic speech corrodes the emptiness inside even deeper. Eva apologizes for forgetting their former connection. She admits they are still far from friendship, but still extends her hand and says, "Let's be friends." Maya pretends it's a trifle, but it's still visible. She was touched. She accepts this gesture and seems to give in to emotions. She insists that they remain rivals in the race to ultimately defeat the demon lord. Ray sees with relief how the conflict peacefully fizzles out. He praises Eva for her persistent work and draws a rare, sincere smile from her. The atmosphere sharply changes when Lucas steps forward and brushes everyone off, calling them useless. He challenges Ray right in the face. He wants to confuse him, put him in his place, and make him get a D. Ray is already mature enough to put an end to this arrogance once and for all. The battle activates. They are teleported to a deserted wasteland, where Ray can finally unleash all his power. Lucas Mox responds with reckless bravery. He starts bullying Ray's comrades and mercilessly calls Reddy's hero absolute trash. Ray snaps and instantly closes the distance. He orders Lucas to shut up. Lucas only barely smiles. Finally, he understands where Ray's weak spot is. Ray demands an answer about what exactly Lucas did to Reddy. Lucas pretends to be a fool and mocks Ray's emotional outburst. Ray tightens his grip even more and says he is simply doing what he wants. He demands an answer immediately. Lucas throws out a proposal: defeat him and he will speak. In an instant, he disappears. The sky suddenly parts, and it fills with a real forest of floating swords. Lucas orders Ray not to lose hope and to surrender to the power of a true hero. Ray freezes in place, stunned by the colossal scale of the talented hero's power. As soon as Lucas shouts to initiate teleportation, Jir barely manages to recover, and a real downpour of steel fragments crashes down on him from above. He manages to slip away from the swarm of blades, but the incredible volume of elite weapons still confuses him. Jairi realizes these are not just random blades. Before him are several different holy swords, and each has its own blessing, which would tear him apart if he tried to block them. Lucas suddenly disappears into the shadow behind and mirrors his confused expression, mocking him. The hero with cat ears strikes dazzlingly fast. A heavy blow forces Jurai to panic and block blindly. Lucas does not stop. His mental attack seems like lightning. He flickers and disappears from reality, and Jurai rushes from his place, trying not to lose his movements. A sharp cut slices Jurai's cheek, blood flashes along the line of the strike. Lucas stands straight, disappointed by what he sees. There is a lack of a real challenge here. Jurai wipes the blood and realizes this is not teleportation, but a technique called phantasmal deception. Lucas confirms the theory and explains. He draws power from the illusory gift of the past phantom hero. Jir connects all the evidence into one picture and concludes. Lucas's true gift is to channel the powers of legendary heroes from history. Lucas smiles indulgently. He is surrounded by a forest of copied sacred swords. Declaring this his talent, he proclaims himself the only chosen one. Jurai could not help but call him a treacherous freak for such a broken ability. When asked where he got these overly unknown powers, Jir answers simply. He researched a lot once he himself wanted to become a hero. Lucas admits he made a mistake as soon as he revealed his own trick. He draws his sword again, deciding to end this quickly. The sky suddenly explodes with a huge network of complex magical circles. Lucas tells Jir not to despair, despite the huge gap between their power levels. These are imperial spells. They are cast without any chant, and this is a terrible proof of pure, direct talent. Lucas boasts that he is a master of all magic, fencing, and martial arts. Jirya stared into the merciless magical crowd and felt the weight of the chosen hero's power. Lucas demands surrender, repeating that he has no time to waste this week. Jirya clenches his fist until it cracks and asks if this is all the hero can show him. He raises his hands in a mocking gesture, as if demonstrating a fake surrender. Smiling sharply, Jir tells Lucas that he is the one who should surrender. Lucas thinks that the Daranker has finally lost his mind and prepares for the finishing blow. He decides that he has had enough of Jirya's posing. Jirya lets out a tired sigh and stretches his hand to the sky. In a moment, Jirya's magic spills out, completely crushing the imperial spells with an explosion in a huge flash. Lucas freezes without a single word. He cannot comprehend how the demount took and canceled his strongest magic. Jirya waves off as if it were a normal weight training and tells the stunned Lucas that he is already too tired to continue. Lucas does not retreat a step. He draws his sword and goes into a final desperate attack. Lucas does not even have time to properly look back. Jir approaches and roots a deadly strike straight into the stomach. He explains, countering an illusion is easy if you turn on detection and find the real body before switching. Lucas tries to swing his Eclipse's holy sword, but the move is already red. Lucas screams in rage. His attacks again and again crumble against someone, an unknown no to everyone. Jir manages to deliver another decisive blow. He looks down at the fallen hero and says that the power he holds does not actually belong to him. It is only a pale, corrupted likeness of a past hero, the true power that does not belong to him. Jirya triumphantly proclaims his victory and orders Lucas to lay down his weapon. Lucas mutters confusedly why a man with such power would agree to be a demoted adventurer. Jir just shrugs. Raising the rank is a complete hassle, and besides, he was never meant to be a hero. When asked why he needs this power, Jirya shifts his gaze to the stars and dryly replies, "It's for me." Lucas considers this answer complete nonsense, at least for someone with such potential. He looks at Jir, and that look there is both envy and insight, as if to say how nice it is to live so freely. He calls this situation ironic. Lucas insists, the strong have a duty to the weak, and that Jir is abandoning his own responsibility. Jirya stands firm, declaring that he will always follow his own path. He doesn't care about others' expectations and complaints. Exhausted and broken, Lucas finally gives up. Lucas finally gives up and grants the D-rank team permission to enter, both the reconstruction zone and the special zone. But Jirya is not yet ready to let go of the hero with beast ears. He stops Lucas and demands the truth. He wants to know exactly what happened to bring her to such fear. Lucas remains calm and insists he has never harmed her even once. He explains, despite hating her ideology and character, he has not touched her with a single finger. When Jirya presses again, Lucas advises him to ask the girl everything on his own. He hints that Reddy is hiding something and warns, if Jirya finds out about it, Jirya will be terribly embarrassed. The hero sharply cuts off any questions and bluntly states that these details are classified information known only to a few heroes. The mood immediately changes sharply as soon as Lucas asks what Jir would do if someone important to him were killed. Jir froze from the dark assumption as if struck by lightning. Lucas reflects how hard it is to be righteous when revenge is such an easy path. He sharply brushes off this heavy thought and orders Jirya to simply forget that he even remembered it. But before leaving, he stops to leave one more piece of advice at the end. He warns Jir, If he really cares about Reddy, there is only one thing he needs to do. His gaze suddenly becomes serious. I am forcing her right now to stop being a heroine. Georgia returns to the group, deeply embarrassed by the hero's eerie warning. Richie smiles again, her lively nature returns, just at the moment Lucas disappears. Seeing how happy she is, Jir decides not to pressure her or pry into the secrets she is clearly hiding. She immediately returns to her usual antics and will again beg him to join their party. Georgia refuses and she, pouting, accepts it as a given, reminding he is a hero, so he must be with them. Finally, the group reaches the country rival Hilo, a state famous for its friendly attitude towards heroes. Since Jir is not an official party member, he has to pay full price for everything, and the library he intended to visit is closed for renovations. He is officially bankrupt and now must urgently find a job. He realizes it cannot be that he alone is dealing with this financial puzzle. Soon he finds himself on the streets and moves forward, followed by 3 beautiful girls. Even Raffin is already tearing each other apart, arguing over who among them is his real wife. Jeri decides to endure this drama. The more people, the easier it is to handle the guild's requests. When he suggests sightseeing before heading to the guild, Raffinette gets confused and starts wondering if this is a date. Richai is simply delighted hunting for tasty treats, eyes shining. Surprisingly, Raffin does not find the invitation suspicious and decides to go shopping with Maya. Eva also doesn't linger. She doesn't like enjoying the trip if her friend isn't coming along. So they set off together, leaving the rest behind. And only Enready stays in place, waving the girls a joyful farewell. Without wasting a second, she immediately stuffs her mouth with all the street snacks she can find. Jir freezes in shock when she receives free goodies just because of her heroic status. She points to the huge clock tower in the distance. Such a thing wasn't there during Jeri's last visit. He explains, it's a new landmark that carries a legendary romantic curse. They say if you confess there, you bind the couple forever. But if you refuse, the person is forbidden from dating you for life. Their march crashes into an unexpected obstacle. An old man from the beast creature ethnicity is drenched in sweat, dragging behind his shoulders a huge backpack that weighs like a stone. While the crowd completely ignores him, Reddy rushes forward there where he is to offer help. They lift the old man and lead him further together all the way to the gates of the reconstruction zone. Jairi decides to stop here. He notices the powerful guards standing watch. The old man pauses, feeling how hostility and tension rise like a thick wave from the depths of the ruins. Jurgya understands. The rumors about the anti-hero factions are most likely not empty, there is truth in them. The old man thanks Reddy, calling her a beginner heroine and a true benefactor. He admires her beautiful, clear eyes and says they are incredibly rare. Then his gaze slides to Jairi, and he begins to mock, saying his eyes are cloudy and look really bad in contrast. The elder says he knows the red-haired hero well, Lucas. He says Lucas is often noticed not just by chance, he secretly helps with the restoration work. Even despite his attitude, a deep lonely sadness burns in the boy's eyes. He lives on alert, always ready, never letting anyone get close to his heart. The old man looks him straight in the eyes and asks him to take care of the hero. Jairi is disgusted by the very thought and cannot understand why he could even be friends with such a guy. He repeatedly replays Lucas's strange behavior and his dark past, sighing heavily for him. It's a complete headache. Jir leads his team to the Great Labyrinth, giving only one brief warning, stay close. Reddy immediately ignores it, raises his weapon and knocks down the beast before Jir can finish speaking. While the magical library is closed, Jirai looks for a way to finance his stay in rival Hilo. The group targets an obscene jackpot, 1 million rain for each spirit herb they find. Since there is little information about the herbs, they have to rely only on their own skills to find them. Can you find the healing herbs with the help of foresight? Jiri asks, hoping Raffine can accurately determine where they are. Raffine nods eagerly, but Eva immediately notices. Jir seems capable of handling the task on his own anyway. Jir admits the truth. His version of the spell works only on people, so Raffine takes on the reconnaissance. She concentrates power, but it turns out not what and not how she hoped. I can't find him, she mutters, and this failure drags her into a spiral of ever deeper despair. Jairi tries to calm her and immediately concludes. Instead of futile searches, they need to find the local fairies and ask them. Eva takes the lead, confident that her contract with the water spirit will simplify everything. They reach the edge of the water and feel the barely noticeable presence of ghostly, capricious spirits slipping out of sight. Eva begins the ritual, but the fairies do not even think of helping. A cloud of dirt bursts from the air and slaps Eva right in the face. She is already brooding over a massacre, forcing Jir to restrain her until she starts attacking invisible pranksters. Reddy understood. The fairies are actually afraid of them trembling and hiding in the bushes. Raffin suggests doing something interesting so the spirits see. They do not intend to harm. She decides that being next to Jairi is pure bliss and clings to his hand. The other girls also join the fight. They cluster together and shower the teacher with warmth like a swarm. Jairi resists as soon as they start sniffing, and tugging his belly, it turns into a real chaotic show. This is bliss. I'm ready. I raise my glasses and fully dive into this crazy plan. Even Jir can't hold back. He involuntarily barely smiles, looking at all the absurdity of what's happening. The fairies finally appear, but the cloud-eyed harem pieces before them do not impress them at all. Euchre caught Jirya and he decided, enough of being overly polite, it's time to catch up with them. He grabs the little spirits and locks them in a jar so they will talk. And the spirits reveal the wounded demon hid in the nearest lake. The fairies almost fall from fear. Their trouble is not to be eaten. Moreover, they still haven't seen friends return from the water. The demons of Jureno are truly dangerous entities, born from human malice, so they must be eliminated. He agrees to exterminate the threat to the delight of the trapped fairies. I'll tell you everything, they promise as Jeri demands. Name the place where the herbs grow and that will be his price. The surface of the lake is calm, so it's hard to believe that a demon is hiding somewhere below. Jairi reveals he has already used remote magic and exterminated all the weak guards in the underwater cave. Eve is stunned into silence. He cleared the way, not even breaking a sweat. Left alone with the masterful demon, Dezertia prepares her team for the final encounter. He distributes magical earrings that allow breathing and staying dry, even underwater. Raffin is deeply moved by the gift and vows to keep this one-time tool forever. The team dives into the depths and heads straight to the dark maw of the flooded cave. They emerge into an ancient stone structure hidden beneath the waters. In the center of the hall stands a mysterious altar. On it lies a single dagger, motionless, yet it pulses with strange energy. This unsettles Juri. He tenses and reaches out to grab the weapon. Suddenly, a thick black mist cloud bursts from the altar, engulfing the entire group. The girls panic. In the misty darkness, their vision completely disappears. When the fog finally clears, they find themselves in the middle of a crowded city. Jir immediately understands. They have been drawn into a deceptive world that shows a replay of the past. They watch as a young boy with red hair makes his way through the streets. The boy steals an apple from a vendor and quickly disappears into the shadows. They follow him all the way to a hut, where he shares the stolen food with a young female beastman. "Big brother Lucas," says the girl, and Jari freezes for a moment at this sensation, as if his breath was taken away. Henry gasps for air. The illness is finally biting into his fragile body. Lucas is still trying to hold on. He promises to feed his younger brother and take care of everything needed. He cuts off any talk of giving up, stubbornly insisting that he will find a cure for the spirit's disease. Henry can only respond with a weak, painful smile. Desperately searching for even a shred of strength to change his fate, Lucas pours every drop of his soul into sword training. His determination is rewarded at night. He is officially chosen as a hero. This new status brings salary and hope finally to buy spirit's sake to save his brother. Later he tells Henry this good news, delighting in the thought of the day when they can become knights together. Returning to the present, the protagonist suddenly realizes. He sees the tragic memories of the man standing before him. Spirit illness is an incurable curse that destroys the soul, and almost always drives victims to suicide through incredible torment. Despite Lucas's success, Henry continues to decline until he eventually becomes completely bedridden. Lucas undertakes a desperate mission, to guard the nobleman near the labyrinth where fragrant herbs are said to grow. He carries Henry in a cart along with the boy, but on the way the boy's health reaches its limit. Lucas casts aside the pride of a knight and begs the nobleman to share at least a drop of spirit's sake. The greedy nobleman insists that he has nothing left and nods to Lucas, saying then he will just have to wait. When time runs out, Lucas turns to a group of local travelers for help to find the healing herbs. They agree to help without hesitation, and for a moment a spark of hope ignites in Lucas. He pushes himself to the limit, fighting monsters, sneaking in the forest, and still carrying Henry on his back. While they make their way through the forest, Henry faintly recalls how Lucas saved the girl from the bullies. "You looked really cool back then," the boy whispers. Henry admits, all this time he felt like a coward next to his brother. His only goal is to grow up and become just like Lucas, to help others. But the conversation breaks off exactly when Henry collapses, powerless. Lucas shouts for him to wake up, but the boy is already dead. When Lucas returns to the village with his brother's body, he sees the nobles and desperates celebrating with the very same supplies they swore were lost. They didn't even bother to look for herbs. Despite all their nobility, Lucas hurls insults. calling them half-beast beggars and ordering them to get lost. Lucas's grief instantly turns into cold, deadly rage. He finally understands. Their lies are the reason Henry is dead. The panicked nobleman gives his demon the order, kill the knight. But the beast turns its fangs the wrong way, directing them at its own master and tearing him to pieces. Lucas involuntarily understands. This was the very demon that from the very beginning provoked the abnormal activity of the monsters. He draws his blade and aims ready to destroy the creature. The vision suddenly breaks off, and the party returns again to the same room. The black demon stands from memory right there next to him. He makes no move to attack, only crouches before the group. The girls are already ready to rush into battle, but the protagonist orders them to stop. He immediately understands the creature has no intention to fight. Taking a step forward, he addresses the beast by name. "You are Henry, right?" The demon devours the boy's body, and at that very moment Henry's soul bursts into the creature and takes possession of it. Reddy asks if there is anything they can do to save him. Unfortunately, too much time has passed. It is already too late for resurrection magic. The protagonist suddenly realizes Henry showed them these memories because he has a message for Lucas. The demon lifts the ceremonial sword from the altar and extends it to be given to his brother. The protagonist agrees to transfer control, but Henry begins to malfunction. The demon's instincts take over his consciousness as soon as he screams in pain. His soul can no longer hold its ego against the beast. Since their souls have merged, it seems Henry must be destroyed along with the demon. But suddenly the black sword of the main hero begins to release dark magic on its own. He understands. The blade can find predatory nourishment power capable of devouring souls. If he uses this, he can eat the demon's soul without touching Henry's essence. He raises his hand and commands the sword to eat. "I will put an end to this, Henry," he declares. The demon's illusions revealed the tragic truth of Lucas's past and the fate of his brother Henry. Henry's soul was eaten and drained by an otherworldly monster, but Jerry with his predatory hunting skills tore it back. Looking at the consequences, the princess wonders why a boy like Henry was never allowed to find happiness. Jar disagrees and stubbornly insists. Henry died with a smile on his face. He forges a ceremonial sword and says the blade glows with a pure light without any traces of offense or malice. This is a sign that the boy's spirit has finally rested in peace. The princess can only smilingly hope that Zurai's intuition will not fail her. As soon as the demon is subdued, Jir catches his breath and returns to the original mission, the spirit of the shafki and fragrant herbs. They head to the ferry dock where they need to finish the work for which they were actually hired. Jairi gathers strength, subjugating the environment to his own will, making everything work for him. He throws a white moonbend and raises a huge artificial sphere above their heads. The magic works instant lithe field explodes with a sea of light plants. This was the secret the fairy spoke about. It is enough for this special northern magic to touch ordinary grass, and it transforms into fragrant high-quality herbs. Jai understands everything. That is why the hero's squad could not find them years ago. He orders everyone to start gathering before the magic disappears, and the herbs turn back into weeds. The team dives inside decisively, with stubbornness to level the field down to bare earth. Jir is already calculating the colossal payout and dreaming of hundreds of millions of gold. Returning to the guild, Kairai sees his father. He was desperately begging for information to save his dying son. Jirai grumbles that the herbs have a sharp, unpleasant smell. He tries to sell the heavy bags to the girls, but they are not interested at all. They decisively refused to transport the stinking cargo. Even little Reddy disgustedly turns away from the bitter smell. The fallen Jare picked up the load and carried it himself. He slips away, orders the group to find an inn, and takes care of his own business. The girls understand. Despite his complaints, Jirai has a golden heart. Jirya finds a hopeless father and leaves herbs for his son's recovery. Suddenly, Lucas appears irritated. Jir is watching him using detection magic. Jiri does not waste time on ceremonies. He tells Lucas that he has a message for him from Henry. Lucas explodes from severe shock until he sees his brother's ceremonial sword. Jir says Henry's soul rests inside the blade. He recounts the labyrinth story down to the last detail, leaving no detail unnoticed. The soul is now dozing, but Jir firmly estimates. To wake up, it will take from 6 months to a year. Lucas is convinced that he needs a physical vessel body to return. Jeri shocks him by declaring that he will handle the impossible. He's going to use the data he absorbed from the demon to literally restore Henry's body to its original form. Jurgya admonishes the hero not to worry and to live as he himself wants. Lucas recalls childhood dreams back then. He passionately wanted to be a knight. Now he feels completely lost. He finds no reason to continue. Juri asks him why he is so confused. He insists that everyone's convictions inevitably change over time. Lucas admits he hates this world and how he got used to exploiting good people. He is repelled by the very thought of heroism. Lucas was convinced that living for justice is a senseless and dangerous path that sooner or later leads only to losses. Jirai simply tells him that he is wrong. Jirai challenges him, let the hero watch him closely and not take his eyes off. Lucas warns him, someday he will regret his choices. Jiraiya responds sharply, asks the hero why he doesn't just get lost if he hates it so much. This question leaves Lucas stunned and speechless. He tightly grips his brother's sword. Finally, he utters genuine thanks, and only then turns away to leave. Yer wakes up in the middle of the horse stable. His whole body still trembles from sleep, his gaze half-shadowed. His calm does not last long. A sudden kick to the face rips him from drowsiness like an alarm. He sits here only because he is completely poor, while the other part of the hero's party usually enjoys royal treatment. The girls are still unconscious. They are lost in their own dreams. Rafin mumbles that a lot of time has passed. The youngest girl promises the teacher she will join the party. Milia barely audibly exhales in her sleep, dreaming about how cool Ray is in her opinion. Jiraiya finally manages to untangle and get out of that pile. Milia wakes up and immediately demands a good morning kiss to start her day. He knocks everything down on the spot, so she seems to agree at least to a hug. There is no time for games. He gathers the team and leads them to the magic library. The impression of the scale of the interior cannot be put into any words. It is felt deep in the soul. Books fly through the air by themselves, as if the building itself has come to life. This is a library with its own will, a magical refuge ruled by a master mage, and silence is guarded by silent automatons. Even usually reserved, Rafin freezes. For a moment here, she suddenly becomes speechless. Jorah explains, their task is to find a specific list of books for Aldi. So that this boring work does not drag painfully, Jir proposes a small bet. Whoever knows and brings the most books gets the right to give an order to the one who finds the least. The girls agree instantly. Competition flares up in their eyes immediately. As soon as the friends are about to part, Jir grabs Rafin by the shoulder and sharply orders, clairvoyance is strictly forbidden. Rafin thinks this is just a matter of fairness, but there seems to be a deeper reason in this prohibition. Jiraiya immediately reminds her that her magical power has not yet fully recovered after their previous trial. Feeling sincere care from him, Rafin responds with a radiant smile and agrees. Milia watches their exchange. With a pout, it is clear she is jealous of the special attention. Their group dynamic remains just as chaotic, but the work still needs to be completed. The meeting officially begins, and the girls rush through the passages as if storming. Rafin is already determined to snatch at least a little time to be alone with Jur. Milia aims for a grown-up date without any somehow there. The youngest simply keeps course on one thing, to achieve his official entry into their party. As soon as the girls disappear from sight, Jir turns away from the search area. He does not even think about losing this game. Jir activates a magical circle on the floor. He knows that asking an expert is faster than wandering aimlessly. Without hesitation, he goes straight to the very heart of this building. Djir unlocks the hidden door and sees. The self-proclaimed chief librarian is already waiting for him. All right, don't rush, she says, not even lifting her gaze from behind the desk. Francesca settles comfortably and exhales clouds of smoke from a long pipe. She notices how rarely Djir visits her just for a conversation. And in a moment she starts flirting, claiming that at night she missed his skin. Djir doesn't believe her. He says she lies as easily as she breathes. He continues mocking how she dresses, as if she were a child before him. Francesca is a complete mystery, and this appearance of hers seems just another of her many forms. Djir recalled the time when he was caught for hacking and forced to serve her as punishment. Djir cuts off the small talk to show her the dark, fanged power he has just manifested. Francesca instantly lights up with interest. She immediately sees that this is definitely not one of the existing forms of magic. Then he shows her a strange mark on his forehead. It appeared just now, just as the demon vanished. She immediately realizes this sign may be a mark of something much older. She pulls a specific book from the shelf with records about Magians, a humanoid race of demons that heroes defeated in the past. These creatures had high intelligence, but were characterized by extreme solitude. Yet despite everything, it points to only one exception, when a human's heart and imagine were connected. Jerry freezes while examining the illustration in the book. On the figure in the drawing, a mark that looks exactly the same as the one on him. This similarity is too striking to explain by chance. Francesca closes the book. Her playful manner instantly recedes, replaced by a chilling focus. She looks him intently in the eyes and asks the one and only question he was not prepared for. Are you really human? Francesca asks whether Juri is human at all. He jokes he's just a good guy without horns and without wings, and he shows a strange mark on his forehead that appeared recently. Francesca admits she was only half joking, but the trace is already undeniable. She concludes that the woman J-Ray defeated is definitely connected to this mystery. Juri feels a chill as soon as he realizes he cannot bear the thought that he might be associated with the heroine sign. Francesca conducts a full-body examination to find answers. Juri instantly stops her. He shifts the conversation to the girls who find him again and again, despite his anti-clairvoyance magic. Francesca takes a pause moment to weigh what exactly could have been the cause. Her face hardens as she begins to analyze the situation in detail. And suddenly she has a breakthrough, mind clicks into the right place. She confidently states that the answer is simple: it is love. Juri is completely baffled by this proposal. She insists that romance is the most wonderful force in all that exists. According to her, their devotion allows them to bypass any magical interference. Francesca begins a lecture on the nature of life and suddenly stumbles upon something. She explains fate is never accidental, it is predetermined. There is a special magic by which these meetings are inevitable. This magic is known as clairvoyance. Although most turn to it for searching, it also connects fates. So Raffin can find him wherever he hides. Francesca calls it a miracle of unbreakable devotion. Juri wonders how even Reddy managed to reach him so easily, and Francesca only suggests others simply learn from the main user. She notes only women seem to be able to use this particular power. Juri is stunned after all. He has his own version of this ability. He tries to brush it off and focus on the contest where they are looking for the book. Francesca nods and says that perhaps he underestimated his companions. She reveals the truth. The girls have already completed the task. Raffin, Eve, and Reddy proudly unfold a huge stack of books before everyone, the ones they managed to gather. Juri freezes in silence at their terrifying efficiency. The next day, Juri clung with his claws to life on a huge armored bird. He can barely endure this high-speed ride and feels any moment now he will be thrown off. The strong guys around are amazed he was not thrown off immediately. Raffin is almost glowing with delight. She immediately pulls him to the next attraction. Juri is exhausted and just wants a minute to rest. He lost the contest for the book, and now he has to fulfill Raffin's request a private date. He admits to himself, a day with her is not such a bad thing, but Djir notices that they are actually not alone. Even Reddy is watching them, in very dubious transformations. Eve mutters something on the go while Reddy tries to keep her quiet. They are confident that their disguises are flawless. Her closeness makes him nervous. Eva watches from the shadows, and in her gaze is pure envy. Djir decides to get rid of his stalkers and grabs Raffin by the hand. They didn't even manage to gather, they immediately run and pass by the very hiding place. When the coast becomes clean, Djir admits, from the very beginning he knew they were being watched. Raffin admitted, she does not care about others, but in reality she wanted to be alone with him. She gives him a warm, stunning smilind. He loses his grip for a moment. Juri briefly holds his gaze on her, and she momentarily loses the gift of speech. He recalls Francesca's words about pure love. Raffin doesn't manage to say a word when she suggests another stop for the evening. They climb to the top of the clock tower to watch the sunset over the city. Raffin freezes. She is enchanted by the view and the cool wind running through her hair. She thanks him for such a wonderful day. Djir tries to look cool, as if he was just dragged along. Raffin meets him with a sad look and calls him by name. Raffin slowly turns to him, feeling something elusive changing in the air. She playfully asks if he is going to talk about the wedding. Juri does not laugh and tells her that it is a very important matter. Regina's smile disappears as soon as she notices the tension in his eyes. Juri clenches his fist, hiding his own determination. He delivers a devastating blow to her heart and without showing weakness says, "Stop worrying about me." Juri tears off the mask of truth, spits out harsh truth, and calls himself worthless and lazy, because he simply does not understand what the attraction is here. He turns away from her and waves a demand. Let her get away and not bother him anymore. Raffin froze in place, trying to break free from their shared history and move away from what had already been. She does not let him go even when he insists that their time together is over. Clenching her skirt tighter in his fingers, he says that his hatred for her is a complete misunderstanding. Juri insists that he is complete crap, but Raffin remembers the kindness he showed from the very day they met. Seeing him as he is now, she falls in love with him even more. Tears well up as she demands, "Why is he so attentive if in reality he does not care? What do you want from me?" she shouts, looking through his cold mask. Djir is silent until he gathers the courage to share a memory of their past. Several years ago, after a meeting at their secret base, she invited him to her birthday. The party was loud and luxurious, but as soon as her father stepped back, the superficial guests disappeared as if they had never been. She was left alone on the verge of tears and suddenly heard a knock on the window. Jurya finished his business earlier and quietly slipped into the hall, immediately reaching for the food at the banquet. This simple presence and her loneliness vanished instantly. Looking at him now, she understands. Her heart was stolen years ago. She always knew he was a hopeless person, yet still loved every part of him despite everything. She begs him to allow her to stay close. Jar tries once more to push her away, insisting he can manage on his own. Raffin sees the vulnerability he hides and fears. If he stops watching him, she will disappear. She apologizes for becoming a hindrance, but Jurai cuts her off. If she thinks she is wrong about something, let her stop. Raffin knows for sure. There is only one way Jurai can truly get rid of her. She spreads her arms wide, offering herself to his blade. "Kill me," she says with a calm smile. Dejir is clearly confused by her extraordinary determination. He asks if she is stupid, then suddenly realizes she is testing the very nature of his soul. He draws a black blade and throws her a cold look as if welcoming her desire. He looms over her, and the tip of the sword is already ready to strike. But as soon as he raises the strike, his hand begins to tremble without any control. He cannot do it, and by this proves that the kindness she saw in him was genuine. Raffin smiles and says that she wouldn't mind dying by his hand after 9 long years of waiting. She pours out her soul again and again, repeating how fascinated she is by him and how much she loves him. She vows to keep repeating these words until he finally accepts her. Dejir can only lower his gaze in defeat and cannot maintain his mask of indifference. Raffin quietly asked him to lift his head. She cupped his face with her palms and made him look her straight in the eyes. Suddenly her appearance again becomes her radiant, true form. Jurya finally can't hold back. He looks at her eyes with admiration. She teases him for being so kind and constantly worrying about everyone. As soon as her deadly aura clears the space, she proposes a game to finally settle everything. As soon as her feelings for him fade, she will lose this match. But if Jurya eventually falls in love with her, then the loss will be his. Jir can't hold back a smile. It's funny to the point of goosebumps from all this absurd terminology. Raffin is ready for anything, even that he might choose someone else, because she is not going to lose. She bursts into a wonderful smile and decisively decides to win his heart. Jerry's eyes, as soon as she realized, escaping her relentless affection is impossible. "This is what I want," she exclaims joyfully. Jir warns her. He is stronger than she imagines, but she is already ready to accept this challenge. Suddenly the crowd notices the princess, and the very same rumor about the black-haired seducer standing nearby. He jumps out from the high balcony and carries her outside right into the open air. As they fly over the rooftops, Jurya still tries to convince himself they cannot be together. But as soon as he looks at his beautiful companion, his resolve begins to crumble again. Raffin joyfully distracts the rays, feeling safer than ever in his embrace. "I will definitely make you fall in love with me," she shouts to the wind. Lucas contemplates the heavy expectations placed on his shoulders. He gazes intently at the blade, a reminder of the hero he was forced to become. He is drawn back to a time when everything was simpler, and he sincerely admired his older brother. To play the role of the perfect knight, he buried his own weaknesses deep inside, but watching his brother's purity only added fuel to the fire and ignited growing envy. Yet that kindness became a light he could no longer look at. Eventually, these beautiful words and high ideals turned into a disgusting burden. The image boiled over to the point that he could no longer look at his own reflection. He is no longer the man he used to be. With the last gesture of defiance, he throws his past into the water. New Call again shoots through the air and calls heroes to battle. But as soon as they return to the base, the atmosphere is no longer about peace. It cuts the air with tension. Eva catches up with the couple who just returned and immediately casts a glance sharp as a blade, pure suspicion. She feels their connection cracking and demands answers without excuses. Jur tries to relieve the tension with a joke, but Iv immediately sees through his lie. He relives that icy moment on the date when he tried to push Raffin away. And she, instead of giving up, poured out everything boiling in her heart and arranged a romantic competition. Eve is completely broken by this news. Not one of those left behind, she officially enters the race for Jer's favor. Jer finally realizes this. He is locked in his own promise and there is no way back. While he still cannot cope with the onset of a headache, he notices Reddy is gone. Suddenly she jumps to her feet, tears the door open, and knocks him to the ground. She pulls out an official letter addressed to her teacher. It bears the seal of the Church of Heroes. They demanded an urgent meeting in the city of Rival Hillo for an urgent request. The list of names gathered heroes of the highest rank, and Jurai was stunned when he saw his own name on the list. He is an adventurer of rank D. He has a simple dream finally to go home and sleep. The letter orders him to come alone on a separate day, with no deviations. He sneaks into the grand cathedral, feeling the weight of his past settle on his shoulders. Here this religion worships the first hero, a woman named Ryan. She is honored as a heroine of the beginning. Even her image is engraved on the continent's currency. Jerry still does not trust he knows that most historians consider her a myth. He has not forgotten how the church deceived him in his youth and forced him to buy an overpriced vase. For him, hero Ryan is nothing more than a fairy tale. Suddenly, a stranger's voice echoes in the hall. He solemnly speaks about the salvation of the soul. Jerry complains about his senseless commissions for donations and does not even suspect that he is already being watched. The stranger protects the church's operating funds with a calm smile, one that is impossible to look away from. Frightened, Jerry turns around and begins to scan the crowd with his eyes, looking for the one who called him. The young man explains nothing unnecessary. He simply introduces himself. Norman. There is such a presence in him that Jerry immediately feels uneasy. Norman reveals his true identity. He is a bishop and the current hero of luck. He gives a polite smile, but the real game is just starting.